people lining up to have their say at that commission. Tell me about these regulations. They just came in a few days ago, didn't they, around e-hailing and regulating that sector?
Yes, so e-hailing drivers have been given 180 days to comply with the new rules under the amended National Land Transport Act, which officially recognizes e-hailing as public transport. Drivers must obtain an operating license, which is 600 Rand, renewed every 5 years. And they must also hold a professional driving permit and install physical panic buttons in their vehicles. Branding requirements are still under discussion, and all e-hailing apps must register with the regulator with penalties for non-compliance. Charter permit holders must convert to e-hailing licenses within 6 months, and full enforcement begins after the 180-day period.
Yeah, and another day, another commission in this country. Tell me about the TRC Cases Commission.
Yes, so the Commission of Inquiry into the TRC cases will begin its work in November, with the first hearing set for the 10th of November. Established by President Cyril Ramaphosa in May, the Commission aims to investigate delays in the prosecuting apartheid-era crimes. Despite the TRC concluding in 2003, most cases referred to the NPA still remain unresolved till this day. The Commission expects interested parties to make submissions over the next 2 months. So it will be interesting to see the shape that takes.
Tell you what, there'll be no shortage of work for our learned friends.
No, not at all.
They are going to be so busy, so good for them. Melissa Puta with the morning brief in brief this morning.
Thulasizwe Simelane on the morning brief. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
17 minutes after 6. Let's tell you about what your weather is looking like on this Wednesday. There's just one impact-based warning from the Weather Service. It's a yellow level 2 warning. It says damaging waves leading to difficulty in navigation of small boats with a risk of some vessels taking on water and capsizing within locality. Those conditions are expected between Cape Point and Kosi Bay, clearing from Cape Point to Plettenberg Bay in the morning. The rest of your weather looks like this. Pretoria is fine with a minimum of 13 and a maximum of 29. Johannesburg, fine, 12 to 27. Vereeniging, fine, 7 to 25. Mbombela will be cloudy with a chance of morning drizzle and fog patches, 14 to 21. Polokwane will be fine with a minimum of 16 and a maximum of 25. Mahikeng, fine, 9 to 28. Bloemfontein, fine, 4 to 22. Kimberley, fine, 5 to 23. Uppington, fine, 7 to 25. Cape Town, cloudy at times with a minimum of 12 and a maximum of 17. George will be cloudy at times, 10 to 16. Gqeberha, partly cloudy, 9 to 19. East London will be partly cloudy, 10 to 19. Durban, cloudy at times with a chance of light rain and showers with a minimum of 16 and a maximum of 20. Richards Bay will be cloudy with a chance of light isolated showers and rain with a minimum of 17 and a maximum of 21. And lastly, Pietermaritzburg will see morning fog, otherwise cloudy with a chance of light rain, 11 to 17.
Worldview Update, bringing you closer to international or global news.
It's the big international story at the moment. A United Nations Commission of Inquiry has concluded that Israel is committing genocide against Palestinians in Gaza, in what it calls the strongest and most authoritative UN finding yet on the war. The report says there are, quote-unquote, reasonable grounds to conclude that 4 of the 5 acts defined as genocide, as components of genocide under international law, including mass killings, deliberate starvation, and preventing births, have been carried out since the conflict began in October 2023. Citing speeches by Israeli leaders and a pattern of conduct by security forces, the Commission argues that genocidal intent is, quote-unquote, the only reasonable inference. Israel has fiercely rejected the report, dismissing it as distorted and false, while its allies have been cautious in their responses, and Palestinian leaders say it confirms what they have been saying all along. All right, let's speak to Shanila Mohammed, who is Executive Director of Amnesty International. Good morning to you, and thank you for your time. How does it align what we've heard from this UN International Commission of Inquiry? How does it align with some of the observations organizations such as yours have been making?
Good morning to and good morning to your listeners. Well, I think the Commission of Inquiry, really just joins a growing number of international human rights bodies and experts in their conclusion that Israel is actually committing genocide in Gaza. We weren't surprised by the findings of the report because a number of organizations, including ours, have come out with the same analysis and the same genocide declaration as this report has.
It's an important threshold, is it not? Terming what's happening as a genocide, as opposed to investigating it as quote-unquote excesses, violations, here and there, but to actually call it a genocide, something that is specifically defined at international law, is significant, is it not?
Well, very significant to us, because, if you look at the Geneva Convention, it's very clear about what defines a genocide. And Israel, according to our findings and according to this UN report, have actually committed 4 acts prohibited under the Genocide Convention. And these include killing members of the group, causing them serious bodily or mental harm, deliberately inflicting on the group conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part, and imposing measures intended to prevent birth. But I think crucially, the report also concludes that Israeli authorities and Israeli forces have had and continue to have the genocidal intent to destroy in whole or in part the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. And I think that genocidal intent is one of the most critical factors. In other words, they had deliberately, their intention was to commit genocide, and that puts it at a very different level.
Say a bit more about that, because that's the other element, isn't it? That in addition to the acts actually happening on the ground, you need the mens rea, quote unquote, mens rea element of the crime. How does this report conclude on such a point of reading what the intent is, as opposed to saying, these incidents are happening on the ground, our forces have engaged in, 1 or 2 acts that perhaps can be condemned, but we did not have the intent. How do you gauge that intent?
Well, I think the Israeli authorities provided the direct evidence for this genocidal intent. And the pattern of conduct of Israeli forces provided circumstantial evidence that genocidal intent is the only reasonable inference that could be drawn from this totality of evidence. So, really, we saw comments being made by top Israeli officials in which they clearly declared their intentions to annihilate the Palestinians. And I think that really formed the basis of the evidence that then resulted in a reasonable inference that there was genocidal intent.
Yeah, so it cites the examples of statements by Benjamin Netanyahu himself, for example, saying we will inflict mighty vengeance, we will turn them into rubble. You have Gallant saying we are fighting human animals and we act accordingly. And the Israeli president as well also cited there. It's an entire nation out there that is responsible. So this finding is there now, but this commission obviously doesn't speak for the entirety of the UN, but it was commissioned by the UN itself. So what now? What implications does it carry?
Well, I think that, really, how many reports have to be put out there to us before the international community, the world leaders take action? And, with this report, there is no more time for excuses. So I think the report has to compel states to take immediate action, and they have to fulfill their legal and moral obligations to stop the genocide. The other thing that the international community, especially those states with influence on Israel, they have to exert all possible diplomatic, economic, and political pressure to ensure immediate, lasting ceasefire and unhindered humanitarian access to Gaza. And then, another very crucial action that needs to be taken is that all states must immediately halt all arms and security transfers to Israel, and they must reevaluate their trade ties with Israel to ensure that they too are not contributing to Israel's genocide in Gaza. And I think that, it's really, this report really will also force states to think about their own sort of complicity and what could happen to them once all of this reaches the ICJ and the International Criminal Court, because states that fail to take action will then be regarded as sort of supporting, enabling, and being complicit in a genocide. So I think states really have to make some serious decisions around how they want to proceed post the release of this report.
Lastly, there will always be those counter arguments that are presented. For example, the Israeli Foreign Ministry says, quote unquote, the report relies entirely on Hamas falsehoods. Hamas is the party that attempted genocide in Israel. And I do imagine you can expect a fair amount of that pushback from certain quarters. What's the best counter argument on your side to an argument such as the one presented by Israel?
Well, I think that, first of all, this genocide has been, it hasn't been behind closed doors. It's been playing out on live television. And as Navi Pillay said in a press conference yesterday, that, that this report, alongside our Amnesty's report, B'Tselem's report, a number of other organizations that have reported on genocide, each organization has conducted their own investigation. And, Navi Pillay again yesterday said they did not rely on anybody else's reports. They went and did their own investigations, which is why it took 2 years to complete this. So I think that, they can say what they want, but the evidence is clear. A genocide is taking place, and no argument that they put forward is going to be able to justify what they are doing.
All right. Thank you for your time this morning. That's Shanela Mohammed, who is Executive Director of Amnesty International South Africa.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Hey, partner, I looked and looked everywhere in the studio. Could not see you anyway.
I feel like an Amakosi fan today.
So you're hiding.
It's a Haibo day, okay?
Tell me about it.
I don't know. Listen, Amakosi's unbeaten run ending just like that last night. Sekekuna United doing the damage to us. 3-1, they went down in the Betway Premiership. All happened at FNB Stadium. Bradley Grobler brace and a strike from Tabang Monare doing the damage, while Flavio De Silva pulled one back for Chiefs. Now coach Nasruddin Nabi admitting his side making too many mistakes and congratulating Babina Noko, saying the visitors deserve the points. Chiefs now shift their focus to their CAF Confed Cup clash against Kavuskop in Angola this weekend. More action on the soccer field. Gabriel Martinelli and Leandro Trossard came off the bench to earn Arsenal a 2-0 Champions League win over Athletic Bilbao. And in the meantime, Belgium's Union Saint-Gilloise made a dream debut in the Champions League. They stunned the host PSV Eindhoven 3-1. And that was quite a derby against their Dutch counterparts. And Tottenham beating Villarreal 1-0 at home as Thomas Frank's side secured that victory in his first Champions League game as the head coach. And onto rugby, the Springboks Morne van den Berg and Asenati Nhlabakanya were the big winners at the Lions Player Awards hosted at Ellis Park. The scrum half walked away with the international backline player of the 2024-25 season and topped it off with the main award of the evening, the prestigious Emirates Lions Player of the Year for the 2024-25 season. Now, the crowd favourite Nhlabakanya is back training with the Lions and claimed the International Forward Player of the Year for his standout performance in the previous season. Let's go to some cricket action. The all-rounder Marizan Kapp played one of the best knocks of her international career. She scored 121, her fourth one-day international century, to help the Proteas women to an 8-wicket victory against Pakistan in the first of 3 matches last night in Lahore.
Yeah, I think I've always showed that I can do both skills. I'm not going to stand here and say it's easy, but I think even a 20-year-old would find today very difficult because it's not easy conditions. It doesn't matter your age, it doesn't matter your fitness. Ultimately, I mean, even Tash, she's as fit as can be and she struggled out there and she's not even a bowler. So yeah, I think it's sometimes a bit unfair to say it's because of this or that or age. To be an all-rounder is extremely hard work.
And finally, Formula One has announced that the British Grand Prix will return as a sprint weekend host in 2026, with 3 other venues staging the alternative format for the first time. China and Miami remain as sprint venues from the 2025 calendar, but Canada, Britain, the Netherlands and Singapore join the schedule for 2026. We'll be back in the Fast Lane on the Morning Brief. I'm Zai Khan.
Good morning, I'm Anne Musa. In the headlines, the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry will today begin public hearings in Pretoria after procurement issues caused delays. KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi will be the first to take the stand. Government has chosen 11 private companies to assist Transnet to transport freight by rail. Transport Minister Barbara Creecy revealed this when she answered questions in the National Assembly yesterday. And civic movements in Kimberley have welcomed the decision taken by the Saul Plaatje municipality in the Northern Cape to place its manager Tapelo Matlala on precautionary suspension following corruption allegations against him. I'll have details on these and other stories at 7.
The Business Update on SAFM.
For the first update of the morning, let's turn to Ndawling Lechela. Ndawling, let's talk Japan. Tell me about exports in that country. You're saying they continue on a downward trend.
Right, Thulas. Well, they might have declined, but they fell less than anticipated in August, with a 0.1% year-on-year decrease following a 2.6% drop in July. Now, the slowdown in exports can be attributed to U.S. tariffs and a decrease in demand due to front-loading of exports earlier in the year. Despite the overall decline, exports to Asia rebounded with a 1.7% increase, while shipments to Western Europe surged 7.7%. However, these gains were partially offset by a 13.8% drop in exports to the US, exacerbated by a 28.3% decline in auto shipments. Now, exports to mainland China decreased by 0.5%, but shipments to Hong Kong rose over 14%. Now, China remains Japan's largest trading partner. Imports in the meantime declined, albeit at a slower pace at 5.2% compared to July's 7.4% contraction. Now, analysts say the trade dynamics are further complicated by the country's 4th consecutive year of trade deficits, with a total deficit of 5.5 trillion yuan in 2024, despite a bilateral trade surplus of 8.6 trillion yuan with the US.
And tell me about Baidu announcing
Yes.
an AI partnership with a Chinese SOE.
Yeah, so Baidu is known as China's largest search engine. So basically competition to the likes of Google Chrome or Google Search. But it does also have cloud businesses, interests in AI as well. That group announcing a partnership with state-owned enterprise China Merchants Group to advanced AI applications. This deal, which focuses on large language models, AI agents, and digital employees, aims to drive scalable progress in industrial intelligence based on real-life business scenarios. Now, the partnership is part of Baidu's aggressive push into AI, which includes its popular Ernie bot and large language models. To fuel its AI growth, Baidu recently disclosed a 4.4 billion yuan offshore bond offering due in 2029, a move that will boost its financial resources in China's competitive AI landscape. Other major Chinese players, such as Tencent, are also investing heavily in AI capabilities, with some raising funds through debt sales as well. Now, Baidu's AI initiatives have shown promising results, with its AI cloud business experiencing growth over the last financial year.
Lastly, Ntauling, recap for us how we closed yesterday and how we've opened in Asia this morning.
So U.S. markets taking a dip and closing in the red. This as traders hang 10 ahead of the Fed rates announcement. Worries about political interference are back on the table, so that's keeping investors on edge. With that, we saw the Dow Jones leading the losses overnight, down 0.33%. The mood quite different here at home, with the JSE in the green, the all share closing 0.2% higher, boosted by a near 0.3% increase in the industrial 25. The rand, in the meantime, continues to trade stronger, benefiting from a weaker dollar. It is sitting at 17.36 to the greenback. Sentiment slightly different in oil markets, with Brent shedding 0.25% this hour. And then lastly, in Asia, stocks mostly in the green, but markets are moving sideways as traders await big monetary policy decisions.
Yeah, I can tell you're taking a bit of strain, so I'll be kind with you today. I'll be kind and gentle, you know. You're going to have a good day today. If it makes you feel better, you can abuse me.
No, I'm coming for you. I'm coming for you. We have 2 more hours of this.
Oh my goodness, what have I done? Dowling Lechela there with the first update of the morning. She'll be back just after 7:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Morning, we start in the Ekurhuleni area. If you're on your way to Joburg this morning, a couple of issues. One is a crash on the N12 between Craft Road and Edenvale. N12 westbound into that starting to slow up. And the roadwork still there on the N17 between Springs and the Boksburg Rondebolt Road exit. So queues again coming in from Brakpan as you line up to get through that single lane section. The rest of the highway network looking fairly standard. Crossing to Durban, there is some pressure again this morning coming out of Umlazi, the Mangosuthu Highway out to South Coast Road, the scene of yesterday's protest. Starting just to backlog, so we'll keep an eye on that one for you. Phoenix IJG Champion from Palmview, convoying slowly out towards the R102. And Cape Town, the breakdown on the M1 inbound at Monte Vista is being cleared, but it is busy coming in from Belleville all the way through to Sable Road. And the N2's under a bit of pressure this morning. Traffic volumes picking up and slowing down between Khayelitsha and Jan Smuts Drive in the Pinelands area. With your traffic updates, I'm Rob Byrne.
Africa Update on SAFM.
For that, let's turn to Sipho Mantula. Raz, good morning. Let's start in Malawi. So yesterday, voting happened and all positions, pretty much all positions in play in this election, the presidency, parliament, as well as local councils. How did it go?
Jumbo Africa, Thulas, and Mambo Africa once more, Thulas. Before we get there, Thulas, I wanted to check with you. In Heritage Month, I want to greet you in Malawi, and I want to hear how will you respond. Mulubanji, Thulas?
Moribino.
Bilibino, that's correct.
Yes,
I am fine.
Yes.
And quickly, I call them the MK commissions of inquiry starting. MK commissions, Madlanga and Kampepe commissions are starting. And I like what you said, more work for our legal investigators will be working today and during November. So
the Leonard friends are working hard.
They're working hard at the MKC, Madlanga and Kampepe commissions. Thulas, results are trickling, collated and tallying going on what I call the harmonized elections in Malawi, where we have the elections that were held yesterday for presidential, parliamentary and local. They've opened their voting stations to us when the morning brief started yesterday at 6 a.m. in the morning and closed early in the afternoon to us. So we are expecting these results by the weekend to us if they are quick, because here we are talking about 7.2 million voters voting for the president, 17 candidates, opting also for 229 parliamentarians, 509 councillors. And we know, Thulas, the two names that are coming up, Peter Mutharika, Lazarus Chakwera. These are the names that are being punted that they will be the ones who will emerge. If they don't emerge, Thulas, they might go for the runoff if there's no one who gets 50+1. But there are issues of economy. Let's wait and see, Thulas, who will be in the State House come the 24th of this month.
Malawian politics is always fascinating when I remember covering it during the period of the passing on of the president and then coming into office of Mayor Joyce Banda and some of the shenanigans that were done to try and prevent her from coming into power. Don't have enough time to go into that, but it's always fascinating watching that country and its politics. Tell me about this referendum in Guinea-Conakry. What's the question at the heart of the referendum?
Thulas, Sunday there will be a referendum in Guinea-Conakry. That is where you have the militant leader called Mamadi Doumbouya. Now, if the people vote for yes for this new constitution, that will give him a right to get into the State House for the presidential election expected towards the end of the year. Hopefully we'll have elections in Guinea-Conakry, but it will give him a space to run for the next elections. He will create a Senate alongside the National Assembly. Now, as we know, the Sunday referendum will strengthen the Sahel region from your Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, a grouping, because even if Guinea-Conakry, it is not part of it. But Mamadou is expecting to be in office, since he removed President Alpha Conde in 2021. We have even forgotten about Guinea-Conakry, that is also under a military rule.
Yeah. And then tell me about this saga that continues to play itself out in South African courts. Another door shut in the face of the family of Edgar Lungu, in that, they've been refused right to appeal.
Thulas, we know there are many options. Now, the last option is to go to the highest court of the land, constitutional court now. But I thought Tembeka Nugatobi gave a convincing argument to us by saying, let the Supreme Court of Appeal deal with this matter of what were the wishes of Edgar Lungu and how as the family they were looking at the will of the former president. But yesterday the court refusing to us, saying that the matter must not go to the SCA. And as you know, it will go back to the original judgment that the body has to be repatriated. But we have not heard from the family what will be the next route that they are taking. As we know, that Edgar Lungu passed on the 5th of June 2025, and he was here to receive a treatment, and he passed at the age of 68. But this is a matter that we need to look into closely, because if they go to the court now, that will be the last stage I don't think they'll go to the African court now, because you always know in law there are many routes where you go, but I think it has taken the toll for both the family as well as the government of Zambia.
No, it keeps winding on, and in it all, you just wonder, at what point will a solution come? Will it necessarily come from litigation? I've made the point in the past. Take us to your historical archives, Sipho. You really have gone all the way back to 1919. What happened on the 17th of September on this day?
Thulas, I had to go to 106 years ago just to look at in the international law also to say, when Namibia was given the mandate by the League of Nations to the then apartheid South Africa. Remember, Namibia was colonized and captured by Germany. It was called German Southwest Africa. Now, on this day, the new mandate was given to the then apartheid South Africa. It went on to in international law books to 1966 at the ICJ, when South Africa was given a mandate to also to have authority over Namibia. And that was in 1966 and remember, the case was brought by Ethiopia, Liberia, but only the pressure that came from the UN General Assembly, it put Namibia under the UN administration once more, and we know that it went on and on until 1971, advisory or opinion of the ICJ on the issue of the UN, and 1990, the 21st of March, Namibia got their independence. So it's very important when you think of the Treaty of Versailles, very important from our learners of history, our learners of international law, how to understand the issue of putting a country under a mandate. It is the same question that we are still seeing on Gaza, how the ICJ is still struggling with handling this, the UN reports coming out, but also the issues of secession, you look at Western Sahara, the matters that have been going to the international law, but we saw it 106 years ago on this day, 17 September 1919. Asante sana Thulas, leading the conversation, SFM observing the Heritage Month.
Sipho, thank you for that. That's Sipho Mantula with the Africa update for today.
My name is Thabo Senong. I'm a football coach and also a SABC Sport football analyst. Besides football events, what do I like attending? It's got to be definitely seminars, workshops. If I was not coaching football, tough one, but I'll consider coaching athletics. My favorite African song, I'll definitely go for Shosholoza because of its historical significance. What I like about SABC Sport, it's got to be the SABC Sport Extra show because it's very brief. It allows viewers who have busy lifestyles to catch up about the latest sports.
Catch the top-class football analysis of the beautiful game on match days with Thabo, Bookworm Sinong, live on Latuma. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
The Spa Baby Proteas will take part in the Netball World Youth Cup 2025 in Gibraltar from the 19th to the 28th of September 2025. These are our rising stars. Hashtag Together We Rise. Brought to you by the Department of Sport, Arts and Culture.
Thulasizwe Simelane is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube and X at SAFM Radio.
So let's talk governance now at this point. The presidency revealing that over 1,200 public servants have been flagged for disciplinary action following investigations by the Special Investigating Unit, the SIU. The update was delivered to Parliament's Standing Committee on Public Accounts, SCOPA, where concerns were also raised about officials resigning to evade accountability. Let's speak to SCOPA chairperson Songezo Zibi, who joins me now on the line. Good morning to you and thank you for your time. Just your overall impression about this work that the SIU has been doing, including vetting of officials, but also where there's been these proclamations, investigations into various entities and government departments. What's the overriding impression that you came out with?
Good morning, Thulasizwe. So the Special Investigating Unit does really good work in investigating malfeasance and particularly trying to recover funds that the state has lost to all sorts of dodgy characters who are part of the procurement system, both within the government and outside. Some of what the SIU does is to recommend disciplinary action against certain officials, one, and secondly, they also make reference to the NPA and the Hawks for criminal investigation and criminal charges. So that is what they do. So what yesterday's hearing was about was tracking progress on all of those cases where the SIU has referred people either for discipline, in fact has referred people for discipline. Part of solving the problem is to make sure that people who are in critical positions in the government are vetted. And there is a backlog going back years, and that's one of the things we're following up on yesterday. The picture doesn't look good, unfortunately. The systems are not in place, at least for making sure that we clean up the backlog, first of all, and secondly, it tends to take very long for the disciplinary processes to take place.
Say a bit more about that point, because the SIU can only recommend that take disciplinary action against this employee. But from the numbers, from what I'm seeing, 1,278 public servants flagged for DC, 370 cases finalized, 608 said to be in progress, 300 awaiting further information. That's not a great return, is it? With 44 individuals having been dismissed in the last while.
No, it's not a great return, and what adds to the difficulty is the complexity of our system, in the sense that the various agencies or authorities where these people are have to pursue disciplinary action, and these are at municipal, provincial, and national level. Now, it's a lot easier for the presidency to influence what happens at national government level, but at municipal level, it's incredibly difficult because we've got three spheres of government, not three levels of government. So the presidency or the Ministry of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs actually cannot instruct a municipality to take any action. The council has to decide to take that action. If there's no political will at that level, then the actions are not done. And we've seen this in various municipalities where there are rogue officials who have been in place and nothing is being done. I want to say to Thulasizwe quickly that this points to the importance of political outcomes, of electoral outcomes. At the end of the day, it's about political will. Political will comes from elected officials. If we get that wrong, you get this outcome.
Yeah, because otherwise it defeats the whole purpose, doesn't it? If disciplinary action is recommended and then there's no follow through, it kind of defeats the whole purpose.
Yeah, it does. I'll give an example to listeners. We found in OR Tambo District Municipality 2 officials who have been charged with fraud and corruption twice in 2 separate cases. They are still actively employed in the municipality, even though the cops came to collect them at the offices twice. Upon going to court, getting bail, they came back to work, and one of those is in the bid evaluation committee. So they help to decide on contracts.
Wow!
And the mayor and the municipal manager did not see anything wrong with that, with those officials being at work.
Wow. Lastly, Songezo, talk to me about this phenomenon of people resigning just as it appears that they might be charged. How is that still a loophole that still exists within our system? How does that continue to help people get away with anything?
So look, I mean, it is a loophole in the law generally, because there is no law that can force you to work at the SABC if you decide to walk out tomorrow. And that's what people do. The reason the vetting is important, though, that we were talking about, is that the record would show that you left the SABC just before you being disciplined. And if you have to work in the government again, you need to answer to those charges first and get cleared. And if you haven't, you can't get hired. That is why we were also upset that the vetting takes so long.
All right, I've got to thank you for your time this morning. That's Songezo Simelane, the chairperson of the National Assembly's Standing Committee on Public Accounts.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. It's a busy start this Wednesday. Traffic volumes across the nation just starting to peak above what they were this time on Monday and Tuesday. We've got some heavy traffic in Pretoria, the M1 South from Montana down towards the Hatfield and Emerald-Fenny and 4 split. That is heavy. A crash coming off Ekurhuleni's N12 westbound at Craft Road. Well, between Craft and Edenvale, so traffic pushing back into Jet Park territory. The N17 queuing into the roadworks at Rondebold, and just a lot of traffic. N1 from 14th Avenue to Rivonia. N3 Elands up to Modderfontein, fairly loaded already as well. Durban, Mangosuthu Highway out of Umlazi into that protest yesterday, very slow on that same section. So leaving Umlazi out towards South Coast Road, Mabeni area, very slow. And Stapleton Road under heavy pressure this morning, getting up into Pinetown. Stapleton Road up towards Josiah Gormedi, the old main road, very slow going traffic through there. Cape Town, the N1 inbound, heavy from Belleville through to Sable Road. The N2 backs from around about Robert Sobukwe all the way through to Hospital Bend. And if you're coming out of the bottom of Kales River, Stellenbosch arterial quite slow across the R300 in towards the Delft area. With your traffic updates, I'm Rob Byrne.
Mr. Govender, congrats on the retirement. You just sold your car to We Buy Cars. Tell us about it.
Yes, it just gathered dust in the garage, so I exchanged it for cold hard cash. Now my wife and I can enjoy a stress-free retirement.
Retiring the car as you retire. Nice. So why We Buy Cars?
It was so quick. They came over to our house to do the evaluation, and we sold it the same day. Tops, man.
Okay, so now you got even more time on your hands, eh?
Exactly.
We Buy Cars. Geared for your next chapter. Geared for you.
Thulasizwe Simelane on SAFM.
6 minutes to 7 on this Wednesday. In response to escalating violence and instability within the public transport sector, the Western Cape government will close select taxi routes for 30 days starting today. The decision, made under Section 91 of the National Land Transport Act, aims to prioritize commuter safety, we are told, amid ongoing clashes that have claimed several lives. While the South African National Taxi Council, Santaco Western Cape, has acknowledged the necessity of the closures, the move is expected to have significant socio-economic consequences for operators, commuters, as well as affected communities. Let's speak about those. Let's talk to Malvern de Bruyn, who is COSATU's Western Cape Provincial Secretary. Good morning to you and thank you for your time. I don't imagine that this is an easy decision to take, but also to implement. What's your sense and reaction as COSATU? Was it a move that was necessary in spite of the difficulties it might bring?
Good morning, Thulasizwe.
Malvern? We're battling to hear Malvern. Malvern, I think we have a bit of a challenge with your line. Let me see if the team can try and sort that out so that we can try and get Malvern de Bruyn to comment on it. I made the point that, this is a move taken under this Section 91 of the National Land Transport Act, and it's been taken, we are told, by the Western Cape government to really in the interests of public safety following the violent clashes that we've been seeing between the various taxi associations, especially around that route in areas like Mfuleni, and I think Somerset West is one of those areas that have been affected by that violence, that taxi violence. So you can imagine the difficulty that it will bring, but also at the same time the calculus. You have to calculate for yourself, which one do you prioritize? Do you stabilize the system, give yourself 30 days to stabilize the system, or do you allow the situation to continue as it does? So we seem to be having a difficulty with that line to Malvern de Bruyn. We'll see what we can do and see if we can rearrange and have him on a bit later on.
Call Thulasizwe now, 086 000 2032.
All right, I'm told that we do have Malvern de Bruyn now. So Malvern, good morning. Let's try again. Tell me about your reaction. I don't imagine that this is an easy decision to grapple with. Was it necessary to save lives despite the difficulties it might bring for commuters in the area?
Good morning. As COSATU, we were a little shocked that the considered with the state.
No, Malvern. Malvern, I do apologize. I think we tried. I think let's rearrange and then we'll do it maybe in the coming days. That line is simply not good enough, and it's robbing us of the opportunity to hear what the COSATU Western Cape Provincial Secretary has to say about that situation. But in the meantime, though, you and I can keep talking. Let's talk. I was saying earlier on that the day to lance the boil, to lay it all bare, has finally come. The first public hearings of the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry will be held today. Let's hear what this person has to say about that.
Good morning, Thulasizwe and SAF listeners. Yes, today is the day. The recommendation of the Madlanga Commission must be made by the president in all its totality at the end of this. So we are asking, can people be prosecuted unlike the Zondo Commission? Dwell in Kimberley.
Thank you for that. Lots of expectations. Granted, given the serious nature of the allegations that triggered it all, right? The allegations made by Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, the Provincial Commissioner of the SAPS, but importantly, what the implications of those allegations are, if they are found to, to have been substantiated at the end of this work. The implications are hugely, hugely consequential in that they implicate various elements of the criminal justice system. So important work being undertaken by the Madlanga Commission, and the expectation is therefore understandable.
Good morning, Thulas. Thulas, I'm very worried about MK. I really love the party from the formation of the party, but now I'm very, very much worried about MK. Why are they so concerned about the Madlanga Commission? Are they scared that the commission is going to unveil some rotten potatoes there or what? It's worrying me. It's very, very worrying. It's anonymous here.
Anonymous, thank you. I can hear the worry in your voice. You say you love the MK party, but you're just worried about their opposition to the Madlanga Commission. The best reasoning that I heard being advanced by the MK party was to say that there's no need for this commission. The allegations are out there, and the president could have just allowed processes to investigate and effect arrests, and basically says there's no need what they're seeing as wasteful expenditure on yet another commission. I think that was really the best argument that I heard them put forward. But of course, they are heading to the courts, so we'll hear a bit more detail as they advance their case as to why this is not a good idea to proceed by way of commission of inquiry. 7 a.m. Let's go to N. Musa with the latest news.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. Time to switch and save. Call 08600 60,000 today.
In our top stories, Mkhwanazi to take the stand as the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry begins, and the DA willing to help underperforming municipalities. Good morning. The Madlanga Commission of Inquiry will today begin public hearings in Pretoria after procurement issues caused delays. The KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi will be the first to take the stand. The commission, which retired Constitutional Court Justice Mbuyiseni Madlanga is chairing, will look into Mkhwanazi's allegations that senior police officials, including Police Minister Senzo Mchunu, interfere with police operations and have links to criminal syndicates. Mchunu is currently on leave of absence. Some political parties have questioned the effectiveness of such inquiries. Sibahle Mota reports.
In July this year, Mkhwanazi alleged that a sophisticated criminal syndicate had infiltrated law enforcement agencies, including intelligence, the judiciary, prosecutors, and other state institutions. The Madlanga Commission is set to investigate the extent of the infiltration in the SAPS, crime intelligence, the National Prosecuting Authority, the state security agencies, correctional services, and the judiciary. The Commission will have 3 months to submit a preliminary report, while a final report is expected in 6 months.
Government has chosen 11 private companies to assist Transnet to transport freight by rail. Transport Minister Barbara Creecy revealed this when she answered questions in the National Assembly yesterday. However, she says the companies still have to go through regulatory screening, and the company's support will increase the bulk of Transnet's freight transportation by almost 20 million tonnes annually.
Let me say that should these companies manage to pass the regulatory processes, they will in due course increase the amount of tonnage that we are able to transport on the network by almost 20 million tonnes of freight per annum.
The DA says it's willing to collaborate with any party to help underperforming municipalities across the country. The statement follows ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa's remarks, in which he considered DA-governed municipalities and towns were the best run in the country. Ramaphosa addressed ANC councillors on the party's Service Delivery Action Plan that was adopted during the National Executive Committee meeting at the weekend. DA spokesperson Willie Oukamp.
If we can make a contribution in any other municipality where the ANC governs to assist with service delivery in those municipalities, we will most certainly do so. We will gladly take hands with anybody to improve service delivery for everybody in South Africa.
Civic movements in Kimberley have welcomed the decision the Sol Plaatje municipality in the Northern Cape have taken to place its manager Tapelo Matlala on precautionary suspension. This follows corruption allegations against him. Community leader Khakhamatso Mutibe says even though it took the council a long time to act, they are relieved.
Fortunately and finally, they came to their senses to realize that what we initially said to them was correct and was true, and now they have finally suspended the MM based on allegations that he is facing. So as a community which has initiated this move, We are very excited that the Council of Solplaiki has really now chosen the people over an individual.
And finally, Donald Trump has arrived in the UK for a second state visit as US President. King Charles will host him at a state banquet. There will also be a military parade. Meanwhile, Trump and the Prime Minister Keir Starmer will hold talks at Starmer's country residence outside of London. The BBC's Sarah Smith reports.
There will be a lot of announcements about inward investment into the UK. Microsoft have announced that they're going to be investing $30 billion over the next 5 years in high-tech infrastructure in the UK, and there may be more similar deals to follow. There's also an unfinished trade deal. Although it was announced and signed several months ago, the US-UK trade deal's never quite been finalised, and there are some sticking points that the President and the Prime Minister might want to discuss, as well as, obviously, a lot of international global diplomacy, the conflict in Ukraine, the conflict in Gaza.
Recapping the top story, the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry will today begin public hearings in Pretoria after procurement issues caused delays. The KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi will be the first to take the stand. For SAFM News, I am Ann Musa.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. Visit outsurance.co.za today. You always get something out.
Just phone Outsurance, get a quote and see what they can offer you. If you don't save that 321 like I did, you might get a 500 or $1,000 back. Service and savings, you'll always get something out.
How is it that Outsurance provided the solution for you?
918 Rand is what I'm saving.
Incredible! What brought you and Outsurance together?
718 Rand. I end up saving.
They gave you the real deal.
It literally is the real deal.
Go to outsurance.co.za now for a 10-minute quote that could save you thousands. Licensed insurer and FSP, T's, C's and information online.
It's a very good morning to you. In your SFM Sports headlines, it's soccer action. Sekhukhune United have stunned Kaizer Chiefs to end their unbeaten start. And in athletics, South Africa's Zakita Nene has powered into the men's 400-meter final at the World Athletics Championships in Tokyo. All the details just before 7:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning, here's top story now. The N3 going up through Pietermaritzburg towards Hilton and Howick blocked with a crash on Town Hill. Very heavy traffic, nothing getting through. If you're on your way up through sort of Market Road, look at exits and get through Pietermaritzburg. Come on north of Town Hill. Take the old road, aim to come on at Hilton, and you bypass what's building into a massive delay. Joburg side, a collision on the N12 going into Edenvale, so coming off from Ekurhuleni side. That is quite slow this morning as you line up back from Jet Park area. And Cape Town just heavy on the highways. Big volume Wednesday. The N1 inbound from Belleville. The N2 inbound from Robert Sobukwe jammed all the way to Hospital Bend. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
It's just gone 8 minutes after 7 on this Wednesday. It is great to be in your company. Welcome to it, the second hour of the Morning Brief here on SAFM 104 to 107. Among some of what we will tell you in this hour, I'll be in conversation with Mbazi Mashilowa. He penned a powerful opinion piece on News 24, critiquing some of the work and the words that have been said by the ANC in the last few days about the role of councillors in the system and scheme of governance. He basically makes the point that it's a bit imbalanced. Is it unbalanced? Yeah, unbalanced to exert so much pressure and expect accountability and delivery on the part of municipal councillors when the same is not being done. The accountability is not being extended at the other spheres of government, including MECs as well as ministers and the likes. He says it undercuts the message of the ANC around the role of local government. Mbazi Mashilowa will be my guest in the next few minutes. Immediately after that, we'll talk to Sihle Magubane. who is from the South African Scholar Transporters Association, and we'll be talking in light of a recent incident in KwaZulu-Natal where at least 20 school children were injured in a minibus taxi crash. Just some of the issues at play in that sector and its regulation that people are calling for, people such as that association. So that conversation coming up at about 20 past 7. And then a bit later on, we'll touch on concerns about safety and security in areas of eThekwini, those concerns being raised by Action SA and Active Citizens Coalition. We'll talk to the city manager, Musampele, having received those concerns and what the plan is to deal with those. These include, of course, theft of municipal infrastructure, hijacked buildings, illegal trading, and drug-related crimes. So that conversation is coming up at about 20 to 8 this morning. Do call me. Let's continue to engage on 086 000 2032 or send me a WhatsApp voice note or WhatsApp message on 0614 104 107. Let's get into it then. The second hour of the Wednesday edition of the Morning Brief.
Lina Lakake Tlampokekana, I'm former Mamelodi Sundowns captain. I'm a sports analyst la go SABC Sport. When I'm home, I try by all means to practice cooking. My favorite home cooked meal, I'll go for pap and masonja because I can prepare that with easy. What do I normally get up to when I get a moment to myself? I would easily, play my guitar. I try to practice a lot of Tracy Chapman. My favorite foreign language is French. Bonjour, comment ça va? So if I didn't play beautiful football, I think I was gonna be a baseball player. What do I like about SABC Sport is the fact that we given an opportunity to educate.
Catch the exciting Diski analysis by Sompo Long Range Kakana on match days live on Latuma. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
SAFM. Prime time all day long.
It's coming up to 12 minutes after 7. The ANC has recently gathered its councillors to confront the crisis of poor service delivery. But leading political commentator and former unionist and former politician Mbazima Shilowa says the party's promises ring hollow. In a hard-hitting opinion piece on News 24, Shilowa argues that without action against failing ministers and MECs, the ANC cannot credibly discipline non-performing councillors, speakers and mayors. He highlights familiar challenges, collapsing water and sanitation systems, mafia-style capture of municipalities and corruption, but says no concrete plan or timelines have been advanced by the ANC. He joins me now to take that conversation forward. Good morning to you, Mr. Shilowa, and thank you for your time. So there was this roll call of ANC councillors. All of them had to report to a dome at Nasrec, and this followed, of course, the engagements that had happened at the National Executive Committee level of the ANC, also focusing almost squarely on local government. What's your understanding of why this intense focus on local government at this point and the role of councillors?
Yes, good morning to you and to your listeners. I guess there are a number of reasons why that gathering will take place. The first one would obviously be that the president of the country and of the ANC, having held a number of individuals across the country, would have come to understand that there is really a lot of rot, decay, problem with infrastructure across municipalities, many of them under ANC. Secondly, it may be that the ANC feels unless it shapes up, the 2026-27 elections may be a little bit more difficult for them. Thirdly, it may be a genuine commitment to want to make change. So for me, whatever the reason is, if it will result in improved service delivery, ensure delivery of infrastructure, deal with issues of water, potholes, roads and so forth, it should be welcome regardless of their thinking. My only worry is that it's well and good to focus on councillors, but most of those councillors actually have got no power. It is mayors, it is MECs, it is ministers that have power, and that therefore, if the idea is to seriously ensure quality service delivery, they've got to look at the whole value chain of leadership.
And you're making the argument that that's not happening at the moment, is it? Focus on the whole value chain.
Yes. I mean, for instance, let's take water. I'll use Guyana because I know it most and people know it better. If you take Guyana, I can go and shout at the councillor there. There's very little the councillor can do. I can shout at the mayor there. There's very little he can do because the power thereof lies with the national minister. Yet nothing is being said about the national minister having to also account every 3 months. So that's the one thing I'm saying. The second thing I'm saying, it is said, well, we must deal with councillors who are found to be wayward around the law. Why not act in this Obotla? Why not act in terms of some of the NEC and ministers who Zondo have said they need to be facing the law? So if you're really going to clean the road, you've got to be serious and clean the road full.
So having seen the roll call meeting playing itself out, what's your impression of, at the very least, its honesty, its degree of candor in dealing with some of the issues? I think, was it Ditsobotla that the president of the ANC mentioned, where one plant, I think it was Clover, ended up closing. It could be another municipality, I stand to be corrected. But he made that example as an example of a failing municipality that leads to disinvestment. And then, of course, going on to make that extraordinary statement about ANC councillors needing to not to be shy, to learn from what DA municipalities do better and learn from those, and saying that, in many instances, the municipalities that are run better are run by the DA. What did you make of that, what appeared to be an amount of candor we had not seen before?
I think it was important that if the president is going to have that kind of meeting, he has to level up with everybody. For me, there are two observations. I think the first one is that we seem to have only focused on what he said arising out of the AG report and leave out, as you say, issues he has raised about some municipalities being good, but also some of them being bad. I think that kind of is important. But secondly, people assume he was talking to the councillors, as Thulasizwe. You know better than I in terms of communication.
Yeah.
Those councillors were not his audience.
Mm-hmm.
We were his audience. He was saying to us, look, I know the problems with my councillors. I'm giving them marching orders. Give them a chance as we go forward. And finally, I know people think that, look, saying you must learn from others with an election coming, it was bad timing. But my view is that there's really nothing wrong with learning. I mean, just recently, and it didn't make any headline, Lebogang Maile met with his counterpart from the Western Cape to say, what can we learn from each other? So, students of each one would know that, no, there's really nothing about it. But I think it was, I hope, a great moment in that when people go back, they're going to start working. But as I say, you want also not just councillors to work better when they go back. You also want to ask, what is Firoz going to do with regard to issues of crime? Because we can't say we want to just deal with potholes, yet people get mugged on our roads. what are we going to do as the Department of Labor to, in other words, if you really want to have a plan of action in which you want to report every 3 months, let it be across the board.
All right, let's leave it there for this morning. Thank you for your time. That's Mbazi Mashilowa, former Premier of Gauteng and former General Secretary of COSATU, joining us and just unpacking some of his thinking that's entailed in that opinion piece that he has penned for News 24.
The Standing Committee on Oversight of the Northwest Provincial Legislature, led by Honorable Michael Groenewald, will conduct public hearings on the Public Service Commission Bill B30B 202 on the 17th September 2025 at Gelexpan Community Hall in Kakamudiri Molema District, Goedgevonden Community Hall in Dr. Kenneth Kaunda District, Kismet Community Hall in Dr. Ruth Sogomuti Mompati District, and Ketling Local Municipality Hall in Bujanala District. All hearings start at 10 and live streaming on Facebook, YouTube, and Microsoft Teams.
Lina laka ke Tlhompho ke kana, I'm from Mamelodi Sundowns captain. I'm a sports analyst la go SABC Sport. When I'm home, I try by all means to practice cooking. My favorite home cooked meal, I'll go for pap and masonja because I can prepare that with easy. What do I normally get up to when I get a moment to myself? I would easily, play my guitar. I try to practice a lot of Tracy Chapman. My favorite foreign language is French. Bonjour, comment ça va? So if I didn't play full football, I think I was gonna be a baseball player. What do I like about SABC Sport is the fact that we given an opportunity to educate.
Catch the exciting Diski analysis by Tlhompho Long Range Kekana on match days live on Latuma. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Thulasizwe Simelane on SAFM.
The South African Scholar Transporters Association is once again urging government to enforce stricter regulations in the scholar transport sector. This renewed call follows a tragic incident in KwaZulu-Natal where at least 20 school children were injured while traveling in a minibus taxi and there was a crash involving a minibus taxi crash. Let's speak to Sihlema Kubane, the South African Scholar Transporters Association's Secretary General. Good morning to you and thank you for your time. Lay out for me the call for greater regulation. I imagine is founded on your observations about the state of the industry, the ease with which people get into it, but also the ease with which people operate without regulation. What is the state of play as far as regulation of the industry is concerned, and how is it demonstrated by some of the incidents that we see from time to time?
Good morning, Thulasizwe. Hope you're good. Firstly, what I would like to say is that as South African Scholars Transporter Association, we see a need for us to be regulated so that our sector, so that we can look after our sector. Scholar transport is a sector on its own. So that's why, for now, nobody's looking after scholar transport. So for now, what we're trying to do, we're trying to monitor things, but we don't have that power to do that because there is a mainstream of which it's taxi bosses and them. So when we try to do or to monitor all those kinds of vehicles who are not in good condition, the drivers and them, some of them, they are being hired by them. So it's hard for us because at times they come and ask us, who are you? And that, they fight with us and they tell us that we do not have routes and that. So the road belongs to them. So that's why we say to government, no, what we need to be regulated so that our sector will be, we'll have someone to look after it because really we are dealing with a very, very fragile package of which it's the future of our nation.
What's the intersection, just based on what you just said now, what's the intersection and relationship between the scholar transporter sector and the minibus taxi sector? Are there intersections where, some owners are active on both sides?
Yes, of course. They are active on both, some of them. That's why they do not want. In fact, the fact is that they portray as Scholar Transport is under the wing, is under their wing. But when it comes to like accidents and that, they do not account. They don't want to come on the forefront and say no, it's their wrongdoing, or else they're not helping us with anything. So when you go to government, he is silent. So that's why we said as Scholar Transport, no, government must just like allow us to stand on our own and do our own thing, monitor Scholar Transporters at all costs, because there's no one who's looking after us. To make an example, in 2020, when we were hit by COVID, we went to many bus bosses and asked them, okay, the government is offering a relief fund. What about us as Scholar Transport? You know what the answer was? They said, no, look after yourself. We've got our own problems. So we'll look after our own problems. So you look after our own problem. That's where we started the organization called South African Scholar Transport Association.
Yeah. How easy or how difficult is it, or will it be, to enforce any kind of regulation, given that in many instances my observation is that people who get into Scholar Transporter business are usually people with a vehicle, really ordinary people deciding that I have a vehicle, I have a need for income, I'm available at certain times of the day, why not get into it? So it's a small business, really micro in the way that it works, and the extent to which already where there's registration requirement, for example, the extent to which that is adhered to appears to be intermittent. So how hard or how difficult will it be to get that kind of regulation that you are calling for in that context?
It's not hard. It's not hard. The only thing that we're looking for is for government to say, okay, I need someone, like, let's say, for instance, as we here as SASTA, when there is a problem, I need someone to talk to. The drivers, they need to be trained. The drivers need to be monitored as to they have all the requirements for them to transport the kids. The vehicles are all in order. You know what? We cannot shy away on the fact that the vehicles that Scholar Transporters, some of them are using, they are old. As old as microbus, E20s, ventures, all those, we want them to stop. We want government also to introduce us to a scrapping system so that we can, once we regulate it, then we can be easily introduced into a scrapping system. That's where all these old vehicles, the owners will be compensated so that they can be scrapped. Then we get new vehicles that will be compliant for us to transport the kids in a safer way.
All right. I've got to thank you for your time this morning. That's Sihlema Gubane, the South African Scholar Transporters Association Secretary General.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Zai, all good things must come to an end. I guess Kaizer Chiefs is discovering this morning. Yesterday.
Yep, they went from clean sheets to leaking goals. Like, I don't know what to say, Thulas. I think we might need some counselling this morning. That's the Kaizer Chiefs fans. But nevertheless, the score 3-1 was the Chiefs' loss to Sekhukhune United at FNB Stadium last night. Bradley Grobler striking twice, with Tabang Monari adding another, while Flavio da Silva managed a late consolation for Chiefs. Now, the Sekhukhune United head coach Eric Tinkler maintains his side is far from being Betway Premiership title contenders. However, he did say that Grobler, who at 37 continued to defy his age, and Tinkler shares how they prepare him for the game.
Yeah, we film our sessions, so even though Bradley wasn't at training because he obviously had a chest infection, We showed him the clips from training, what we were planning and what we were intending. And also for Brad's a seasoned pro. You know, he's not someone who still needs to be developed and learn. His tactical prowess is very, very high. So not difficult for him to understand the game plan. And he proved that tonight, you know.
Meanwhile, Durban City snapped their 3-match winless run in the Betway Premiership in style. They secured a 2-0 victory over Siwelele FC. All happened at the Chatsworth Stadium last night. And from soccer, we head to cricket, where all-rounder Marizanne Kapp played one of the best knocks of her international career. She scored 121, her fourth one-day international century, to help the Proteas women to an 8-wicket victory against Pakistan in the first of 3 matches last night. She did confess, though, the pitch was a bit difficult to bat on despite making it look easy.
Yeah, look, I struggled that over just before my century, so I was a bit frustrated. But no, today was extremely tough. The conditions was not easy. When I was on about 20 runs, I thought, how am I going to do this? So it was just extremly tough out there today. It wasn't easy to bat at all, but when I was bowling, it felt like you couldn't get a wicket as well. So yeah, felt like the partnership is probably what brought us over the line, because I feel like when you are a new batter and you first walk in, it's not easy at all.
And finally, South Africa's Zakiti Nene has powered into the men's 400-meter final at the World Athletics Championships in Tokyo. Nene won his semi-final in a blistering 44.20 seconds, cruising over the last 100 meters to secure his spot in today's decider. It was a tough night for the favourites, with Olympic medalists Matthew Hudson-Smith and Grenada's Kirani James both crashing out. Compatriot Lyth Pillay fell short in his semi-final, but Nene will be carrying South Africa's hopes in a final that is promising fireworks, which will be against a strong Botswanan contingent as well. And that's your sport. We'll be back here on the Morning Brief, Fast Lane, top of the hour. I'm Zaikan.
Good morning, I'm Anne Musa. In the headlines, the Office of the President has come under fire for blacklisting only 1 out of the 467 individuals and companies recommended to be added to the National Treasury's Restricted Suppliers Register. The office was briefing Parliament's Standing Committee on Public Accounts on the Special Investigating Unit's cases. Government has chosen 11 private companies to assist Transnet to transport freight by rail. Transport Minister Barbara Creecy revealed this when she answered questions in the National Assembly yesterday. And there is public interest in KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi's testimony as the first witness at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry in Pretoria this morning. The commission will investigate Mkhwanazi's allegations that senior police officials interfere in police operations and have links to criminal syndicates. I'll have details on these and other stories at 8.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. It is a heavy volume Wednesday, plus some incidents. One on the N12 coming to Joburg out of Ekurhuleni. This is before the Edenvale exit. Traffic all the way back to Benoni. Nearby, a stationary truck N3 north at Modderfontein Road. So big traffic up from Germiston through Galulis on your way to Edenvale. And just an indication of the high volumes, the N1 this morning from 14th Avenue really got traffic company all the way round to Rivonia Road territory. Chris Hani Road coming out of Soweto near Patrick's, so Deep Cliff area. There's a crash there. And that's pushing traffic back towards Barrow Hospital, so that's heavy. N1, Pretoria, very slow, all the way from the Montana on-ramp. In fact, you're going to queue on Sefaga Makato out to the N1, and then the N1 all the way down to the N4 Emalafeni Highway. That's a heavy backlog to work through today. Major crash and delays going up from Pietermaritzburg towards Hilton and Howick, right at the top of Fields Hill by Peter Brown. There's some wet weather conditions and some heavy queuing traffic. In fact, that section of the N3 temporarily closed, so if you know what you're doing, come off off well before Liberty Mall. Take the Old Road route up through, come back on at Hilton, or would be your best option just to sort of avoid it. Go through Pietermaritzburg and the Old Road. Just keep yourself moving. And an incident, bottom of Fields Hill this morning, going into Pinetown. That's why it's so heavy from Hillcrest, joining from Old Main. You'll sit on that M13 all the way into Kloof and down the hill again. Maybe Cassia Road towards the N3 looks a better option going into Durban and Cape Town. Traffic lights are down. N1 inbound at the Yiptiaga off ramp. That's causing some additional delays as you wait to get off that ramp. The N7's heavy this morning with queues from Jake Scoville Drive going north Goodwood right through to Bosmansdam Road. With your traffic updates, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Business Update on SAFM.
Good morning to you once again, Dowling. I'm still keeping my pledge to be kind and gentle to you, given the fact that I can tell that, you are struggling a little bit this morning. Talk to me about the expectations of economists around rates in this country and what the SARB will do next.
So economists expect the SARB to stand pat on rates tomorrow. This week's meeting is significant as it comes after the implementation of US tariffs in August, which are likely to impact local inflation and growth. Now, according to Reza Ismail, who's the head of bonds at Prescient Investment Management, the US tariffs have exacerbated structural weaknesses in the economy, including weak capital formation, low business confidence, and policy uncertainty. Now, despite these challenges, Ismail believes the Reserve Bank will maintain its current stance as the public's confidence in the bank's ability to contain inflation remains strong. Economists expect a minor price increase in the next few quarters due to the tariffs, increase in inflation that is due to the tariffs, but think the central bank will look beyond the short-term impact. More economists said they're eagerly awaiting the Fed's interest rate decision tonight, with many predicting a rate cut. Although today's move won't directly impact the Reserve Bank's upcoming decision, economists believe the Fed's dovish stance and expected further cuts in the fourth quarter could lead to easing at the Reserve Bank at its last MPC meeting in November.
And tell me about SME confidence. You're saying it's slipping,
Yes.
or it slipped at least in the first quarter.
That's right, Thulas, and that's as the latest SME Confidence Index compiled by Business Partners, the local risk finance firm which measures small business resilience, dropped due to the unprecedented postponement of the national budget speech, which unsettled 57.5% of SMEs surveyed. The 75 billion rand revenue shortfall announced by Treasury in February further fueled concerns about weaker fiscal support, slower economic growth, and declining service delivery. The survey noted that the lack of clarity on the budget disrupted financial planning for many SMEs, with over half making accounting adjustments in anticipation of a VAT increase, only to reverse those adjustments once the budget was delivered. Now, this uncertainty, combined with volatile exchange rates, weak consumer demand, and global trade disruptions, has put pressure on small firms here in the country. In fact, 37.5% of SMEs reported being directly affected by rand swings, while 33.8% experienced indirect exposure. All confidence measures tracked in the survey declined, with expectations of economic growth supporting businesses dropping to 65% from 69% in the previous year, while confidence in accessing finance also fell to 62%. So overall, SME is quite downbeat about the operating environment.
So how are we looking on the markets front?
Kicking things off in Asia, stocks are mostly in the green this morning, with the Hong Kong Hang Seng leading the gains up over 1.2%. Those stocks led by technology firms like Baidu as investors bet on AI innovations. Stateside, futures are flat, and investors on that front taking a wait-and-see approach as we wait for Powell and his team of policymakers to announce the anticipated rates move later today. And then coming back home, the JSE finishing higher in yesterday's session, gaining 0.2%. The upbeat mood filtering through to the rand this morning, which is trading stronger at 17.36 to the dollar. Lastly, in the commodities market, oil on the back foot, trading just below $68 per barrel.
All right, thank you for that. That's Ntauling Lechela, who will come back one more time with another update just after 8:30, in which update, of course, as she always does, she will give you a sense of the kind of trading day that you can expect on this Wednesday.
Who's behind the mask? A singing pineapple? A disco dancing dokolosh? It can only mean one thing. It's the Masked Singer US Season 9, the only show where celebrities hide behind wild costumes and even wilder vocals. Is that Beyonce? No. It's your dentist dressed as a giant taco. Unmask the madness, the mystery, and the mayhem. Saturdays at 6:30 p.m. on S3. S3's got the masks, the music, and maybe your favorite celeb in a flamingo suit. Don't miss it.
Stay on top of all meaningful, top trending stories right here on SAFM. Leading the conversation.
20 minutes to 8. Let me give credit to the initial reporting of Independent Online on this next story. The eThekwini Municipality's Security and Emergency Services Committee is set to deliberate on urban safety concerns following motions submitted by Action SA and the Active Citizens Coalition, ACC. These include the theft of municipal infrastructure, hijacked buildings, illegal trading, and drug-related crimes. The motions seek coordinated, urgent responses to these growing threats that undermine service delivery and public safety. Let's speak to the eThekwini Municipality's City Manager, Musa Mpele, who joins me now. Good morning to you, and thank you for your time. How serious are these concerns that have been raised in these motions by Action SA and Active Citizens Coalition?
Good morning, Thulasizwe, and good morning to the listeners of SAFM radio station. Look, the matters that they've raised are quite serious in the sense that they go to the core of urban management, and they also have a potential to undermine a city's vision to become the most livable city by 2030. So we are taking them very seriously.
Taking them seriously, but where's the action?
The action is in the form of the inner city regeneration strategy, which was developed 9 years ago, and we have been in the process of implementing it. So it is part of that particular strategy, but it is also part of the broader safety strategy for the city. In the inner city regeneration strategy, there is a very well dedicated work stream that deals with issues of safety, issues of dilapidated building, issues of public realm improvement. So those programs are really taking place. They have been taking place. We will provide a formal response to council on a very wide-ranging program to deal with the issues that have been raised by Councillor Mngcono and that organization.
So demonstrate the progress for us then, at least over the course of the last year or so, on one aspect of what is being raised in this instance, the issue of hijacked and derelict buildings. Where do we stand with the 76 buildings that were identified last year when Mayor Cyril Xaba and the Minister Dean McPherson, around this time, in fact in August, were talking about 76 buildings, 58 being privately owned and 18 being government owned. How far have we come in dealing with those 76 buildings a year later?
The results of the inner city regeneration strategy, insofar as the bad buildings are concerned, are already visible. Remember, there's a lot of work that is done behind the scenes in the form of getting the justice system to be part of the solution, but also tracing the owners of those particular buildings, and therefore so that we are capable of enforcing the bylaws insofar as the management of those buildings are concerned. If you drive around the city of Durban now, you will realize that there are a lot of buildings that are being fixed. There are a lot of buildings that are being fixed just by the owners themselves after we've served them with the notices. But also the city has taken a decision to say we will go to those buildings, fix them ourselves, and then we will raise an account through our debt policy to those particular owners, because we can't wait for them, because they will always plead that they do not have resources. So out of those buildings, about 20 of them have already been fixed, either by their owners on their own or through this particular intervention by the city. We are going to have a very big announcement very soon that a number of them now are going to be foreclosed by the city and are going to be taken over. So this drive is being worked on behind the scenes at Thulasizwe.
Is that informed by an understanding that says derelict buildings, abandoned buildings, hijacked buildings are usually, and sometimes integral and a part of the mix in the commission of other crimes, such as drug dealing, illegal trading, and other crimes?
Yes, that is very much so, Thulasizwe, because all these crimes are being committed inside these buildings. When you talk about things such as human trafficking, for these guys to be able to traffic human beings, they have to keep them somewhere, and they are being kept in these buildings here. So they become a big accessory in the commission of these crimes. As a result, Thulasizwe, as part of the inner city regeneration strategy, we have come up with a program called a Town Talk, where we get the members of the public, business people in the community safety to participate. Tomorrow on Thursday, the 18th of September, between 6 and 8 o'clock in the evening, there's going to be a dedicated focus on the matters of safety and security, homelessness, inner city housing, urban improvement precinct, inner city ablutions, and the catalytic projects that we are going to develop. Yeah. So all those things will be laid bare in that particular engagement. So we request the members of the public and any interested parties to come and join that particular Town Talk. It will be online. At Thulasizwe.
Sure. Town Talk, well and good, and inviting people, well and good. But what about the strategies? Some of the strategies being suggested by people such as the ACC, for example, include specialized investigative units, a memorandum of understanding between the SAPS and the Metro Police, a dedicated WhatsApp hotline for real-time crime reporting, and so on and so on. Do these align with your own thinking and strategies around these social ills?
Very much so, Thulasizwe. What we are going to be unpacking tomorrow, number one, is progress on what we have done thus far and the plan, so that we continuously get input from the members of the public. But we have increased the number of Metro Police. We do have a working arrangement with South African Police Service, SARS, in terms of controlling issues around port access. So all those things that they are suggesting there, we will be writing to them. We will be telling them also that we are on the path to solve this particular problem.
All right, I've got to thank you for your time this morning. Musa Mpele is City Manager in eThekwini.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Let's kick it off in Joburg. There's a high volume office day Wednesday. Just an indication of that. Just pure volume. The N1 from 14th Avenue round to Ravonia Road. Very slow. The Mike 1 from Boyson's extended queue right through to Melrose this morning. All your routes into the office in Sandton through Morningside, coming in through Woodmead, Ravonia, down through Bryanston, out of Randburg. All of those routes are heavy and slow go, just with pure volume today. The N3 North has a stationary truck at Modderfontein Road coming up from Heldenace and Elands Interchange. So Germiston through Galuli's up to Edenvale's heavy. N12 and R24 roads pushing back to their Edenvale exits, trying to get through Galuli's and into that N3 North. Also the N12 from Benoni through to Boxburg down to Roundabout Road, pretty slow going as well. Allendale Road, you'll be asked to sit this morning from Klipfontein View across into Midrand. That is a heavy backlog. Pretoria's N1 South, still slow from Montana all the way down towards the N4 Emma-Lafletti split today. Major delays going up Town Hill. This is out of Pietermaritzburg on your way to Hilton and Howick. There is a temporary closure of the N3 from Liberty Mall moving through to Peterborough. In fact, I just refreshed my system. It looks like the road is probably reopened, but there's an enormous backlog moving up from sort of Chotamotala territory, central Pietermaritzburg, all the way through towards Peterborough. And still a good idea to scoot along that old road. If you can off-ramp at Pietermaritzburg, get onto the old road. You'll bypass that major delay. M13 Fields Hill is heavy as well. Issue just down the bottom near Richmond Road. Traffic starts to queue heavily along that M13 from just after the sort of old main road on-ramp today. Breakdown on the N2 with the construction in Mshlanga, so you know that means a delay pushing back through Kumashu towards Queen Nandi Drive. Cape Town, N1 inbound, fairly slow from Belleville to Kuba. Get a change. The M5 backs from Ottery this morning all the way through up towards the N2. And the N7 fairly heavy from Goodwood. This traffic all the way through up to Bosmansdam Road. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane.
The SABC is proud to partner with Africa's biggest marketing conference, the Nedbank IMC. One day, 25 top speakers, including 6 global keynotes. The theme this year is Marketing is Business, and anyone in the business of communication should be there. The conference is taking place on the 18th of September in person in Johannesburg or online. Book now at imcconference.com. Marketing is business.
Across South Africa, online and on radio. SAFM, let's talk.
So let's turn to this now. Gambling is on the rise across the country, but KwaZulu-Natal seems to be emerging as one of the hotspots where the boom has triggered both profits and serious concerns. The provincial gambling regulator, KZN Economic Regulatory Authority, KZN ERA, revealed that it generated nearly 700 million rand in revenue over the past year, money that lawmakers admit bolsters the provincial coffers, but also comes at a steep social cost. Members of the legislature expressed concern that more residents are now requiring treatment for gambling addiction. While some argue that gambling should be regulated as an economic activity, groups like Gamblers Anonymous are calling for stricter measures, especially on online betting, citing global examples where it is banned outright. So let's speak then to Merlin Rangasamy, who is chairperson of Gamblers Anonymous in KwaZulu-Natal. Good morning to you, and thank you for your time. So these figures are staggering, but they are within a context in South Africa, gambling on the rise, the various forms of gambling on the rise. The numbers that we are seeing from KZN ERA, what do they reveal about the extent of the growth of gambling in KwaZulu-Natal? Growth in general, but growth in problematic gambling.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning. How are you, sir?
Very well. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Did you? I wonder if you caught my question. The figures coming out from KZN ERA, 700 million rand in revenue over the past year, and the concern that while it's revenue that's generated for the province, it also reveals that it comes at a steep social cost. What does it reveal about the extent of the growth of gambling in general, but also the growth of problematic gambling in particular?
So I can speak from a point of Gamblers Anonymous,
sure,
where we are seeing more and more people entering the rooms of recovery. We are a 12-step program with problems that the social problems that they are currently facing because of the gambling, and more so the online gambling. The online gambling, it's so easy now to access. You can access it on your phone. So, in the past you had to jump in your vehicle and get to a casino or to a race course or a gambling establishment now that is becoming so much easier. You could do it while you're in the bathroom, while you're at your workplace. So that's just causing a bigger problem when it comes to compulsive gambling and problem gambling.
So when you look at that, what does it tell you about how we need to be approaching this issue then? The ease with which people can access various gambling platforms, casinos, sports betting, the lottery, and other forms of gambling, including online gambling. Where are the loopholes that are leading to that increase in people walking through your doors?
So we as members of Gamblers Anonymous, we trusted servants of the group. You know, when it comes to the different measures that government needs to place, and the stronger hold government needs to put in place to restrict this online gambling. You know, we cannot comment too much on that, but more so as the assistance that we provide with people with the compulsive gambling problem. It is definitely a serious problem, and you know, my personal opinion that there should be stricter measures being placed so people cannot access this so easily. But you know, we focus more on the problem, and we focus more on helping people with the compulsive gambling problem.
Yeah. So what would those stricter restrictions look like for you? You know, I hear you talking about you feel that there should be stricter restrictions. What would those look like?
So you know, in the past, with going to a casino would is not been so easily accessible. There's other countries, like I'm saying, I'm speaking from my own personal opinion,
sure,
not as gamblers, not from Gamblers Anonymous as a whole. But you know, there's other countries that we've seen that they are putting a halt, and they, you know, when it comes to online gambling, they're restricting online platforms. They're restricting a lot of activities attaining to gambling. They're restricting a lot of advertising as well when it comes to gambling. So, you know, maybe from a personal point, maybe we need to, South Africa needs to look at something like that there. Because remember, people are suffering with the daily expenses that they have to meet. You know, the economy and expenses and living expenses are critical at the moment. People are battling with that. And they feel that maybe by earning or trying to make extra money from gambling, they will subsidize their lifestyle.
Yeah.
But what happens is, it may happen 1 or 2 days, but the rest of the days, what happens? You're just putting all the monies back, and before you know it, you cross the invisible line into irresponsible gambling, and that's where it becomes a problem. When you cross the line into irresponsible gambling, and you know, you become a compulsive gambler, it's not about the money anymore. It's about the addiction. You're feeding your addiction. And that becomes very critical.
Speaking of that addiction and compulsive gambling, I imagine that like any other addiction, it can't be easy to deal with and overcome. What goes into helping a person to overcome compulsive gambling, addictive gambling, and other support structures such as yourselves and other structures as well available as much as they should be across the country?
So what helps with that? How we help is we are a 12-step program, and we have meetings on a regular basis. There's meetings throughout KZN, and we make meetings. We sit around, we share our therapies, we share our strength and hopes with other compulsive gamblers, with the newcomers that walk into the program, and we show them that this is a better way of life, and there is help for compulsive gambling. See, compulsive gambling is an emotional problem. Remember, you're not consuming anything into your body to get a high, unlike other substances. With compulsive gambling, it's an emotional problem. So our part has proven that if you follow our part, we sit, we share therapies, we share strength and hopes with each other, and that helps us stay gambling free for another day. It's a day at a time program,
sure.
But you know, with therapy, with meetings, people stay gambling free.
Yeah. All right.
One day at a time.
All right, I've got to thank you for your time and your insights. That's Merlin Rangasamy, who is chairperson of Gamblers Anonymous in KwaZulu-Natal.
Call Thulasizwe now, 086 000 2032.
All right, let me just take, there's a comment here from someone who was listening. Richard in Neisner says, if the online gambling industry is going to be a fact of life, surely the overwhelming amount of advertising needs to be curtailed. And Richard posing that as a question and throwing it out there for anyone else to engage with. Let me play this clip, this voice note that has come through about President Cyril Ramaphosa.
Tula, I am so amused. You know, Ramaphosa is a big joke. He's shouting the praises of DA in the Western Cape. But have you seen how the people are living in the rest of the Western Cape behind the mountain? Go and see, the people are getting killed and they're living in filth. So you mustn't come and talk here about the DA.
All right. More reflections like those will continue to come, of course, in the wake of what President Cyril Ramaphosa said to ANC councillors gathered for their national roll call and telling them to learn from what the DA does better than they do. 8 a.m. Let's go straight to N. Musa.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. Time to switch and save. Call 08600 60,000 today.
Our top stories. Presidency officials under fire for lack of enforcing SIU recommendations, and all eyes to be on Mkhwanazi as the first witness at the Madlanga Commission. Good morning. The office of the president has come under fire for blacklisting only one out of the 467 individuals and companies recommended to be added to the National Treasury's Restricted Suppliers Register. The office was briefing Parliament's Standing Committee on Public Accounts on the SIU's cases. Some members of Parliament were unhappy at the pace of authorities in taking action against those found wanting. Action SA's Member of Parliament, Alan Beasley.
I'm angry. I'm so angry. I'm angry for every South African. I'm angry for the SIU. It's just doesn't make any logic that one out of 467 people, 460 companies and individuals have been blacklisted. People have died. They've given their lives fighting for corruption. And this is a joke. It's an absolute joke. And you guys should hang your heads in shame. And I'm angry. And it's really wrong. One out of 467 is totally unacceptable. The SIU is intentionally be watered down. Deputy Minister, how can you actually sit this and try and justify?
Government has chosen 11 private companies to assist Transnet to transport freight by rail. Transport Minister Barbara Creecy revealed this when she answered questions in the National Assembly yesterday. She says the company's support will increase the bulk of Transnet's freight transportation by almost 20 million tonnes annually.
And let me say that should these companies manage to pass the regulatory processes, they will in due course increase the amount of tonnage that we are able to transport on the network by almost 20 million tonnes of freight per annum.
There's public interest in KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi's testimony as the first witness at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry in Pretoria this morning. The commission will investigate Mkhwanazi's allegations that senior police officials interfere in police operations and have links to criminal syndicates. The accused officials include Police Minister Senzo Mchunu, who's currently on a leave of absence. Political analyst Professor Beki Mgomezulu says Mkhwanazi has integrity.
When he was acting police commissioner of police, he did a sterling job. In fact, in some instances, even talking truth to power and then not bowing to any intimidation as long as he was operating within the confines of the law. So the decision for him to convene a media briefing and to make the explosive salvos was informed by his track record as someone who's principled, as someone who's level-headed, as someone who acts ethically.
Visits to South Africa's natural treasures are set to be free of charge as SANParks launches its 20th annual National Parks Week. From the 22nd of September to the 28th, South African citizens with a valid identity document will be granted complimentary access to most national parks during the day. The aim of the initiative is to encourage more locals to connect with nature. SANParks spokesperson Charles Patlane.
Entry fees will be waived at our parks, and people can come and access our parks for free. But this does not include some of the commercial services that we have, such as the Agalas Lighthouse in Agalas National Park or Table Mountain Aerial Cableway. Those would not be free, but for all other activities, you can enter for free and enjoy the nature and the conservation that we have.
Further afield, and finally, 4 people have been arrested after anti-Trump protesters in Windsor in Western London projected giant images of the US President Donald Trump with the convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein onto the walls of Windsor Castle. Questions about Epstein may arise at a joint conference with Trump and the British Prime Minister Keir Starmer later today. The BBC's Sarah Smith has the details.
The Prime Minister is very likely to face questions over why and when he sacked his British ambassador to Washington, Peter Mandelson, over his links with Jeffrey Epstein. Now, of course, we all know Donald Trump has his own links with Jeffrey Epstein, is facing his own questions about whether or not he really did write that letter that was contained in Jeffrey Epstein's now famous birthday book. So the President would rather not be talking about that, so would the Prime Minister. They've got deals to announce on sharing information on nuclear power, launching some new tech partnerships. That's what they want to be talking about. Everybody in government is hoping they don't end up talking about Jeffrey Epstein instead.
Recapping the top story, the office of the President has come under fire for blacklisting only one out of the 467 individuals and companies recommended to be added to the National Treasury's Restricted Suppliers Register. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. Visit outsurance.co.za today. You always get something out.
When it comes to saving you money, Outsurance puts their money where their mouth is. That's right. If Outsurance can't beat your car insurance premium, ask them for 500 Rand cash. Make that 1,500 Rand cash if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. Savings or cash, you always get something out. Get a quick and easy quote today. Call 08 600 60,000 or visit outsurance.co.za. Licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's and information online.
It's a very good morning to you in your SFM Sports Headlines. Soccer action. Mamelodi Sundowns continue their march towards the historic 9th Premiership crown. They travel to face Marumo Gallants tonight. And in athletics, South Africa's Kitinene is through to the men's 400-meter final at the World Athletics Championships in Tokyo. All the details just before 8:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. It is a high volume office day Wednesday. Lots of traffic around the country. The big talking points, the M1 South in Pretoria coming from Montana down towards the N4. Very slow going traffic through there. Joburg, just pure volume, backing things up between 14th Avenue and Rivonia Road. Breakdown on the busy N3 North at Modderfontein. That's a stationary truck. Queues from Germiston. Behind that, the N12 and R24. It's a very heavy in from the Ekurhuleni side to get through Galilees and into that N3 North mess. Also Benoni through to Boksburg. Very slow on the N12 down as far as Rondebolt Road. And on the Mike 1 North, on your way to Santa, the crash near Corlett Drive. That's a joined up queue right back through to Boysons this morning. Still very heavy on Durban's Fields Hill from Hillcrest coming into Pinetown. An issue right down the bottom of the M13 near Richmond Road. Traffic backed all the way through almost to Old Main in Hilton. It's very slow. A breakdown in the roadworks on your way towards the airport at Umhlanga. Traffic queuing heavily back almost to Queen Nundee Drive territory. And a crash up on Town Hill earlier this morning. It's a big backlog moving up from sort of Chotomotala Road territory, Pietermaritzburg, all the way up past Liberty Mall and all the way up that hill through some wet weather conditions as well. Cape Town, your highways are busy. N1 inbound from Belleville all the way through to Kuba. Get a change. N7 out of Goodwood up to Bosmansdam Road is slow. And there's some pressure on Marine Drive. 2 queues to work through at Sunset Beach and another Milnerton to Parton Islands. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
To be in your company this morning. Let me do what I actually, I really enjoy reading some of the messages that you do send us on a daily basis. So let me start with that before we get to other conversations and taking your calls. Someone here says, whatever Ngwate municipality has on the ANC can never be known by many. That municipality is government on its own. Things are really bad, but it looks normal to its ANC cronies. So someone deciding to flag the situation in Ngwate municipality in the context of the conversations we've been having around municipal governance and in light of what, of course, the ANC has been saying and the ANC president. Mzin Kabecha says, what is the role of dictatorship from provincial ANC committees? The senior managers are dictated to by the province, even if in legislation it is the role of council on some of these issues. It is clear why others do better. As media, please do your job. Check which networks are linked to who at NEC and PEC. Contracts matter. The cities are crying. Vandalism is sophisticated. Resourced gangs hijack trucks as they arrive with new cables. What can councillors do? Where is national intelligence? Cities are dark. It is beyond the councillors. That's the view there of Mzi in Kabecha. And one or two of you wanting to comment, someone called in and said that they are worried about the MK party. A caller who says, I loved the MK party from its inception, but now I'm worried about their opposition to the Madlanga Commission. And this person says, why now? Why is there now concerns about MK party saying there should be no Madlanga Commission of inquiry? Of course, they are spot on, says this person, because again, like the previous Zondo Commission of inquiry, all will be in vain. No truth in this country of ours. Then I want to reflect on one or two that have to do with the game that happened yesterday. Thabang Monare of Sekhukhune United. Of course, he's been in the news for the controversy that arose when he was sent off for wearing ispandla, which was deemed to be against the FIFA rules. So I want to get to those two messages. In fact, there was someone there who said to me, I wonder if Zai told you that Thabang Monare. Yeah, here we go. This is the message. It's the last one I want to read before we get into the third hour. Thulas, I don't know if Zai alerted you that the man who raised a conversation about Ispandla scored yesterday, and it was his birthday on top of that. And this person then going on to say, Ispandla works. Welcome to it, the third hour of the morning brief here on SAFM.
Good day, South Africa. Mark Haskins here, SABC Sport football analyst. My favorite meal between breakfast, lunch, and supper is probably breakfast, even though I'm very much a foodie, so I don't turn away food at any time of the day. I remember the guys used to sing Tula Mama, Mama, Mama. And then when we translated, it was like, really? You're telling your mom to be quiet? Is that really something you would do? What I love about South African football fans is really the passion. My favorite African dish, I would have to say, is mogodo. We call it pens and poikis because of my big calves. I've always been called potris. Just make sure you tune in, make sure you support the SABC. We will bring you the best local content and international content.
Catch the exciting analysis of the beautiful game on match days with Mark Haskins, proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
The SABC is proud to partner with Africa's biggest marketing conference, the Nedbank IMC. One day, 25 top speakers, including 6 global keynotes. The theme this year is Marketing is Business, and anyone in the business of communication should be there. The conference is taking place on the 18th of September in person in Johannesburg or online. Book now at imcconference.com. Marketing is business.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane.
So let me turn to this story now. After months of deepening concerns about allegedly entrenched criminality, controlled by criminal syndicates, corruption and political interference in the country's criminal justice system, the day to lance the boil, laid all bare, has arrived. The Judicial Commission of Inquiry into Criminality, Political Interference and Corruption in the Criminal Justice System will officially hold its first public hearings today. It is chaired, as you know, by retired Constitutional Court Justice Mbuyiseni Madlanga, and the commission is tasked with investigating the explosive allegations of political interference and criminal infiltration in law enforcement structures, starting with the man who first leveled those allegations, that is Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, who is expected to be first up to take the witness stand. Let's speak to William Gumede, founder and executive chair of Democracy Works Foundation, also a professor at the Wits School of Governance. Good morning to you, and thank you for your time, Prof. So much anticipation and expectation in the way that it's going to play itself out in the public. Or the approach being that only in rare circumstances will there be, a need to curtail the public's access to the testimonies at the Madlanga Commission. How much value can we expect for it to add in terms of our understandings of the concerns that were raised by Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi about our criminal justice system?
Good morning, and good morning to the listeners. I think, this is a very, very significant moment. General Mkhwanazi was the first high-profile person in a position to be openly say it. There's almost that we know for a very long while now, the criminalization of the police and part of the security system. And I think it's going to be very, very important that, the transparency, it's always important, these type of commissions. I'm more worried, about the safety of whistleblowers, for example, and witnesses, because we have seen in the last couple of years the assassination and disappearance of people. And also because, for the first time, this is, the focus is now going to be on the security apparatus that's supposed to protect witnesses and whistleblowers, so they know where people are and they are under investigation. So for me, importantly, how do we protect the people that's going to come out there and tell us and give us evidence?
Are you comforted by the assurances that have been made? Even as late as yesterday, the Commission was giving that assurance that says they've done all they can within their powers to ensure the security is tightened around the Bridget Mabandla Justice College precinct, around witnesses, given the nature of the allegations and those that are allegedly involved.
I think the best is going to be, it is, as much transparency. Transparency is protection. And so that's why it's so important to have it this way, where it's open to the public, open to the media. And I think after that, the most important thing, the other thing after, protection of whistleblowers is this commission, at the end of the day, the findings and recommendations are not going to be binding. It is going to be up to the president to execute, to implement. Now, we know that in the past, very, very few recommendations of past commissions have been implemented. Even now, I think go back to the Zondo Commission, very, very few of those recommendations have been implemented or follow up. So it's going to be very, very important that, for example, Parliament do something and follow up, because with previous commissions, we haven't had any process whereby the recommendations of commissions can be followed up by Parliament. And I know, the Zondo Commission recommended actually a way to do that. They said, look, maybe Parliament should actually set up a parliamentary committees that have oversight over the president to ensure that there's execution of findings of the Zondo Commission. So I think it's going to be absolutely critical that Parliament has that sort of oversight and do the follow-up.
Just recap for us then, Prof, the importance of this commission and the gravity of the allegations that were made. I've heard people saying that this strikes at the heart and soul of the nation if indeed any of the allegations that were made by Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi are true. It would talk to issues that, implicate national security. Is that why there's a sense of heightened expectation and anticipation around this commission, but also public interest in it is this heightened?
No, absolutely, because, the stories has been coming out of in the media from whistleblowers previously about the capture of the criminals, of the whole security system. But now we have actually a senior, a top policeman saying it publicly. That's different. It's not allegations from smaller individuals or people who used to work there. It's somebody who's active and is at the top level and somebody who's respected. As a tough a crime fighter who's respected across the country. This is absolutely significant. And the fact that the general said, look, it is all the way up to the top levels of the ANC and cabinet. So this is almost, again, also even a scrutiny of the ANC, again, the capture of the ANC also. So it's not just, obviously there is the criminal justice system that's been under scrutiny here, but it's also the ANC because, it's go all the way up. And then, criminal gangs, we've been talking about a country, run by different kinds of mafias, or not run, but, mafias seems to get away with things. And the general actually said, well, it's happening. It's real in his view. And, with the seal, he's got all of the information.
All right. The stage is set then. Thank you for your time this morning. William Gumede is founder and executive chair of Democracy Works Foundation, but also a professor at the Wits School of Governance.
So you thought you were building a business? In this economy? Good luck. But day by day, somehow it grew. You became payroll, procurement, PR, and pressure valve. You kept going when the freezer didn't freeze, the bucket didn't budge, and the bank balance barely blinked. What's that saying again? What doesn't kill your business makes it stronger? Or at least it should be that. So you thought you were building a business. You weren't. It was building you. Because this isn't just what you do anymore. It's who you are. And you don't trust just anybody to protect it. Chat to your broker about Old Mutual Insure Business Insurance. Protect what built you. Old Mutual Insure Limited is a licensed FSP and non-life insurer.
Spar brings you super savings. Get 500ml Monster Energy Drink, any two for 28 Rand, and 50 megs free data on Spar Mobile. Or 80-gram Cadbury Chocolate Slabs, any two for 32 Rand, and 100 megs free data on Spar Mobile. Plus, you could win your share of 6 million Rand in instant cash. Prices valid until 22 September 2025. While stocks last. T's and C's apply.
Call Thulasizwe now. 086 000 2032.
Yeah, straight to the calls then. Let me start with Vuyiswa in Parktown. Good morning to you, Vuyiswa.
Good morning, Thulasizwe. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
I just want to weigh into what Khotso said the other day when he said the president was stupid. I think as African people, indigenous, I don't like this black African story. I'm indigenous. As indigenous people, we need to actually introspect ourselves. I remember Redi used to call President Zuma idiot.
Yeah.
Imbeko itheni because kunesisho sithi sigoqwa sasemanzi. That gives us a question of which background to come from. Right now, already it's being we are caught up by US. Yes, they want it out.
I don't know that.
You never know.
I don't know that for a fact. Yeah, but yeah,
yes,
go
I
ahead.
saw it on social media
Sure.
in so many. You can check it. Yeah, they want it out. Some of these things we bring, dark clouds upon ourselves because umdomdala uyahlonishwa, you know. Whether umdomdala wenza into is wrong or there's disrespect, there's words you can use. Umdomdala uyaphazama okanye uyaphosisa. You know, like you can't directly. He's the president, of course, of the country, public figure, anyway. But we need to actually respect. Cyril Ramaphosa, I'm a member of the African National Congress, a bona fide member. He's not my man, you know. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I respect that office.
All right.
The office that I respect, president in the ANC and the president of the country. Yeah. If I have issues, I do confront them. I don't have to I confront them in a very polite manner.
Okay.
Gotcha. I don't think it's right for us. But the media is the one that allows people, because even our brothers from the continent, they speak anyhow.
Right.
Things that they can't do in their own countries.
Gotcha.
You guys allow them.
Thank you for that. That's Vuyiswa out in Parktown. I don't think I want to add anything to that. For my part, I think we've really, really, really explored this issue. And I think on my side, I think we've enough about it has been said, including the fact that I don't know how to say this. I honestly don't want Khotso to be taken as an outcast on this show. How do I communicate that better? Khotso, if you're listening, my brother, you are not an outcast on this show. Whatever people are saying was critique of the way you expressed yourself, and my disagreement was merely about those specific words, name calling. But honestly, Khotso, and anyone in Khotso's position, I cannot assure you more than I'm doing now. You are more than welcome to call back onto this show. You are a part of this community. I want to hear from you. So I would hope that all of this castigation and toing and froing that has happened, and I would hope, let me just appeal to the broader Morning Brief community. I'm happy for us to leave this point now, if you don't mind. And Vuyiswa, this is not, castigating you or anything, but I'm happy for us to leave this point. I think the point has been made and understood, and I think the ground rules are quite clear. So I would hope that going forward, hopefully, I'm not censoring you, but I'm happy for us to say we've really, really made the point that was being made. Zola in Bloemfontein, good morning.
Good morning, Thulas. Thulas, I fully agree with what Mbazima said this morning about some people are held accountable, like councillors. A few weeks ago, you'll remember that there was an announcement that some board members in the water board spent about 100,000 for a meeting. I've not heard the minister commenting on that and indicating as what she will do. I expected her to say, this is not right. I will conduct an investigation or make sure I find out what are they spending that money on, because you cannot spend 100,000 on just one meeting. I don't understand that.
Yeah.
So do to the right hand what you also do to the left hand.
Yeah.
Let them be held accountable. Let the minister come and tell us what she's going to do, because we are always complaining about water, corruption. We cannot spend the rest of the decade complaining about corruption and spending the money wastefully.
Yeah.
Please, let us be accountable.
Zola, thank you for that. Zola talking about consistency there, along the vein of what Mbazima Shilowa was saying, that if you're going to hold councillors accountable, you must do the same at the other spheres of government, MECs, ministers, and other role players. Zola adding there some of the water boards as well.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Hey Zai, good morning to you. So Mamelodi Sundowns are seeking to make it 9 in a row in terms of the, Premiership win and the title. But standing along the way, many teams. Among them, Marumo Gallants this evening.
Absolutely, Thulas. While Sundowns are fighting for that shelf space in the trophy cabinet, there are also the other clubs that are fighting for points. Tonight, we will see the likes of this team. They'll be facing, Gallants away at 7:30, the kickoff and Sundowns are hoping that they'll continue their march towards a historic tonight, chasing that 9th consecutive premiership title. They are already on 14 points after their 3-0 hammering of Magesi FC, and looking forward to all the action from Peter Mokaba Stadium. Now, Stellenbosch FC are aiming to snap out of their early season slump. They take on Amazulu tonight in the Premiership. Stellies have managed just one win from their opening 5 matches and head into the clash at the Princess Magogo Stadium under pressure to rediscover form. Kickoff also set for 7:30. Now, after watching his team suffer their first defeat of the season and also conceding for the first time in 6 matches, Kaizer Chiefs head coach Nazruddin Nabi says it's too early to panic. Chiefs were brought down to earth by Sekhukhune United, losing 3-1 to Babina Noko. Now, once Sekhukhune, they took the 2-goal lead in the second half, they dropped more numbers behind the ball and closed shop. Nabi says it's also a matter of time for them to make sure that they don't fail again.
Heureusement, les opportunités ou les erreurs, ils ont marqué. Nous, on a eu aussi des opportunités, on n'a pas marqué. Parfois, le football, c'est ainsi.
As well, they had opportunities to score. Them, they scored, and sometimes as well, we had opportunities to score, but we didn't score. And football is it's like that.
On to cricket, Marizan Cup roll back the years with a stunning unbeaten 121 as the Proteas women cruised to an 8-wicket win over Pakistan in Lahore. Cup has silenced critics who question whether at 35 years old she could still deliver at the highest level. Together with opener Tasmin Brits, who added an unbeaten 101, she shared a record 216-run partnership that powered South Africa to their first ODI series opening victory since December last year. Cup says getting this kind of start is key.
That's extremely important. I think even if you look at the way we started today, we started well with the ball and then we just lost it a bit through the middle there of the game, and then I felt like the way we brought it back, that last 10 overs ultimately won us the game, and then with the bat I feel like to be that clinical and beat them with 8 wickets, it was a proper effort from the girls.
And finally, athletics. South Africa's Zakiti Nene is through to the men's 400-meter final at the World Athletics Championships in Tokyo after clocking 44.20 seconds to win his semi-final. The Durban-based sprinter looked composed despite 2 false starts, easing through, while global favourites like Olympic medalist Matthew Hudson-Smith and Grenada's Kirani James bowed out. Nene is carrying Mzansi's hopes into tomorrow's final, where he'll face a strong Botswana contingent as well as a resurgent American field. That's your sport on the morning brief. John Gericke will be in the fast lane. That's around 12:30 on SAFM. I'm Zai Khan.
Good morning, I'm Anne Musa. In the headlines, businessman Vusimuzi Kat Matlala will today know whether the Alexandra Magistrates Court in Johannesburg will grant him bail. He allegedly attempted to murder his former partner, socialite Tebogo Tobejane. The state's second witness in the theft of money at President Cyril Ramaphosa's Palapala farm is this morning expected to conclude her testimony in the Madimole Magistrates Court. The 36-year-old housekeeper started to testify on the first day of the trial on Monday. And the office of the president has come under fire for blacklisting only one out of the 467 individuals and companies recommended to be added to the National Treasury's Restricted Suppliers Register. I'll have details on these and other stories at 9.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Heavy traffic straight through the middle of Johannesburg. It's a crash on the Mike 1 near Melrose up by Caller Drive. Northbound is very heavy coming through from Boysons, and southbound backlogging from the N1 Buccleuch all the way down through Sandton into that Melrose area. A stationary truck on Joburg's N3 north at Modderfontein Road's been there all morning. Traffic is heavy from Germiston, and bad backlogs coming in on the N12 and R24 routes from Ekurhuleni. Some real heavy pressure into Galuli's just to join that N3 and then sit all the way up passing the Edenvale area Still a lot of traffic on Route 1 between Bayersdorp and Rivonia Road as well. Breakdown N1 South at Olifantsfontein. Traffic queue pushing back there to the old Joburg Road exit. Some delays coming on the M1 between Rigel and Boerta Avenue. That's as you come out of Pretoria into Centurion. And a crash on Jan Schober at South Street causing delays in that Hatfield area. Still major backlogs leaving Pietermaritzburg out of KZN up towards Hilton and Howick. An earlier crash at Peter Brown and a broken down truck there and the roadworks and some rain. So from Chotamotala, Liberty Mall territory all the way through to Hilton, it's a big backlog of traffic to work through. A crash on the N3 outbound at Paradise Valley. That's slowing traffic from Pavilion Mall. And a breakdown northbound at Gateway causing some delays if you're airport bound. Cape Town, N1 from Belleville through to the city centre is fairly busy. The M3 queues from the top of Wynberg Hill all the way through to Hospital Bend this morning. And there's a lot of pressure in Mowbray, Klipfontein Road out of Athlone to Mowbray and Lisbeck Parkway heading up towards the M2. All very busy. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Business Update on SAFM.
Good morning to you once again in Dowling. Let's start in the property sector. Tell me about Hyprop posting bumper annual earnings.
It's been an upbeat year for the Rosebank Mall owner, and this despite losing out on the mass bid. Now, during the annual period, Hyprop delivered a 7.5% rise in distributable income to just over 1.5 billion rands. Growth was supported by strong results from both its portfolios, the one here at home and the one in Eastern Europe. In the local market, which includes flagship centers like Canal Walk, Clearwater Mall and Rosebank Mall, tenant turnover advanced 5.5%, while trading density rose 6.8%. During the year, Hyde Park Corner welcomed a new Checkers Fresh X, while the second phase expansion of Somerset Mall remains on track for completion by July next year. Over in Eastern Europe, that portfolio continued to provide meaningful support to group earnings, with tenant turnover in that region climbing over 6%. Vacancy levels remained really strong, or rather negligible at just 0.1%. Looking ahead, Hyprop noted that the global operating environment remains challenging, but reaffirmed its focus on both new and organic growth opportunities, along with ongoing repositioning of its portfolios in South Africa and Eastern Europe to boost market share.
And I see there's a takeover bid for Libstar. Tell me about that.
The food producer announced it's considering a possible takeover bid, having received non-binding expressions of interest from potential buyers for all its issued shares. It hasn't mentioned who the bidder is and says although the talks are still in the early stages and may not lead to a binding offer, the group CEO, Charles de Villiers, assured investors that day-to-day operations and the company's long-term strategy remain unaffected. The takeover talks sent Libstar's shares soaring up close to 15% by market close, its biggest gain in 3 months. This also comes alongside Libstar's interim results, where revenue jumped 6.7%, driven by improved gross profit margins and increased cash generation. The owner of brands like Lancewood has also made progress in cutting costs and simplifying its portfolio, including consolidating gifting production into its main condiment plant and rolling out new products. But consumer pressure remains intense due to food inflation and weak spending. And to counter these rising costs, the company plans to focus on further efficiencies, export growth, and supply chain resilience.
Lastly, Dowling, what kind of a trading day can we look forward to on this Wednesday?
The JSE likely to open mixed. Traders here at home are eyeing inflation and retail sales figures. Ahead of those prints, the rand steady this hour, benefiting from a weaker dollar. It's at 17.35. Oil, in the meantime, is on the back foot, retracing some of those earlier losses. It's down 0.1%, trading just below $68 per barrel. Back to equities, stateside traders choppy with futures flat as investors wait in anticipation for the Fed's next move. And then lastly, in Asia, trade also mixed. Investors there eyeing those central banks' decisions as well.
All right, thank you for that, Ntauling. That's Ntauling Lechela, who's kept you updated with business, economics, and the markets for the last 3 hours.
Think about 6 years ago, when Amapiano was just a musical instrument, when streaming meant watching water flow, not videos online, and remote work was only said when your remote batteries died. So it makes you wonder, what will the next 6 years bring? All Hino trucks now come standard with a 6-year drivetrain warranty, covering everything from pistons to gears. So although a lot can change in 6 years, our warranty promise won't. T's and C's apply. Hino, all the way.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
This year, the Standard Bank Joy of Jazz Festival presents 3 unforgettable days deep in the heart and art of jazz. From the 26th, 27th and 28th of September, Umo Sangare, Ababemu, Chesmia Horn, Silent Ngo, and the Noisemakers, Najpong Trio, Michelle Ndegeyechelo, Velemsini, Gabi Mutuba, and over 50 world-class acts will be ready to welcome you and yours to 4 magnificent stages of the Sandton Convention Center. Take me there. Buy your tickets at Ticketmaster now.
Across South Africa, online and on radio. SAFM, let's talk.
20 minutes to 9. In higher education, government is telling us that it has resolved the 2025 higher education funding crisis that left tens of thousands of students unable to register for their studies. Higher Education and Training Minister Butima Namela announcing that on Monday. The intervention comes after the National Student Financial Aid Scheme, NSFAS, reported a significant funding shortfall which jeopardized student registrations for the academic year. Let's speak to Wasim Karim, who is the CEO of NSFAS. Good morning to you and thank you for your time. So we are talking here about funding to the tune of some 13.3 billion rand that we are told has been reprioritized elsewhere within the Department of Higher Education and Training. What are the implications for you and your operations as a fund?
Hi, Thulasizwe. Good morning to your listeners as well. I think it's quite an important step. When Minister Manuela was announced, he had committed to a process to stabilize NSFAS within his first 90 days in office. And one of the significant issues that we were facing was the funding deficit, which, as you correctly mentioned, impacted close to 50,000 students for the year. So we are quite pleased that that matter has now been resolved for this year. Those student registrations can be processed, albeit a little bit late in the year, and that they can have clarity in terms of their funding status as they proceed towards the year-end examinations at universities. Yeah.
Say a bit more about that funding gap that you had. Was it to the tune of some 12 billion rand? And what has been the impact thereof? What I'm asking is, are there interactions and measures between yourselves and the universities through which you are able, universities and other institutions through which you are able to say, we're not good for it now, but, you know, we've got an IOU and you can continue and proceed? Because I'm just wondering, we're in September. If we're talking about delayed registrations, some 50,000 students affected.
Yeah, so we've had an ongoing conversation with universities as we've been trying to resolve this matter. So these students, fortunately, have been able to study. Unfortunately, they've not been receiving their monthly allowances, but they have been allowed to study. I think what this really helps is to bring clarity and also to assist the universities now in having clarity in their own minds that they will be reimbursed for the tuition costs that they would have incurred for those students. Yeah, of course, this does not deter us from the fact that South Africa's current higher education funding model is unsustainable, and that if we don't put steps over the medium-term expenditure framework, the situation is likely to keep arising.
In fact, you take me to my next question. What are the systemic issues that need to be addressed such that you don't find yourself with another shortfall next year or the year after?
Yeah, so I think you've almost got a perfect storm scenario, right? You've got a reality where young people are doing better at basic education, so the system is producing more bachelor passes. But because of South Africa's cost of living crisis, more households are pushed into the NSFAS eligibility criteria. And as we know, state resources due to the state of the economy are also declining in real terms. So all of these things put together put NSFAS in quite a difficult situation where the fund has more students eligible for the fund than it is able to fund, right? And I think there is necessary reforms that need to be put in place, both short-term and long-term. Of course, we know NSFAS has been plagued with maladministration, with corruption, and rooting out those measures can already free up funds, right? There's elements around the suite of benefits that are offered and how those can be tailored to ensure that the scheme benefits more students. But there's also longer-term conversations that we need to have, as in, does everybody need to go to university in South Africa when a university education is prohibitively expensive, right? Are we not supposed to be producing more real and artisanal skills in the country? What are the type of degrees that we're funding? Is our alignment strategy really linked to the skills strategy of the country? And I think those are important reforms that need to be put in place if we're going to set NSFAS and the broader post-school education and training system on a sustainable path.
So a major pain point over the past few months has been around the payment, or non-payment of accommodation providers and the vulnerabilities that was said to be introducing for students who use private accommodation. Where does this new money that has now come in fit in with that, and what's the status as far as resolving that situation?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's two elements to that, right? So the one element is that, of course, accommodation providers would have been affected by the blocked registrations, and I think we are pleased to say, with the confirmation of these students' registrations, those accommodation providers will also be in a position to receive payments here. In addition to that, I think what's important is that there are deep structural issues in student accommodation, right? And I think one of the things we've come across is that, NSFAS took over a student accommodation function without the requisite feasibility work, risk assessment, policies and procedures. And one of the things we've introduced for the sector is a student accommodation protocol that's been released for public comment that is aimed at us really bringing regulation, transparency, and accountability to the student accommodation sector, because I think there's two sides to the coin. I think, on one side, you have an element of accommodation providers which are rightly not being paid on time and things like that. But you also have a lot of abuse happening in the system. And I think the protocol is meant to address some of the abuse that we've been seeing in student accommodation.
All right. I've got to thank you for your time this morning. That's Wasim Karim, who is the CEO of the National Student Financial Aid Scheme, NSFAS.
Call Thulasizwe now, 086 000 2032.
All right, let me start with a call from Bond in Gqeberha. Good morning to you, Bond. Long time no speak, my friend. You've disappeared.
Good morning, Thulasizwe. Thank you very much.
What's
also
you
to
busy?
the SFM family.
Yeah.
No, your name is Thulasizwe. It means this nation must be silent. You must tell the people. I'm talking about the speech by the president.
Yes.
For two reasons, it was not necessary. Number one, when we need to make a straight talk with someone, and you are sincere about that, you don't do it in public. You do it privately. So there was no need for a public gathering. Number two, what he said is contained in an ANC document called the Eye of the Needle.
Mm-hmm.
All that had to happen was for the Secretary General to email what is contained in the Eye of the Needle that talks to how an ANC member gets to be leader, how he or she behaves as a leader. Not only to the local ANC members, also to those in the province and also in Parliament. And that is the end. Finally, the criticism against the president for referring to the DA is misplaced because he is the head of state. He's supposed to promote unity. South Africa is an indivisible state. You see? Mm-hmm. So now what is happening is the myth perpetrated by the politicians themselves and you, the media, because you refer to ANC-led municipalities, DA-led municipalities. There's nothing like that. Mm-hmm. It's a legal myth. All that is that the real leaders are those that are served. Those that are representative are the servants of the people.
Sure.
Their leader is the rule of law, the constitution. What they are doing is contained or dictated by the law and the constitution. They are not leaders. We are the leaders. Thank you.
Gotcha. Bond, thank you for that, making that point about the president and his speech and some of the reflections on leadership at local government level. Let me take a call from Mike in the East Rand. Good morning to you, Mike.
Hi, Mr. Thulasizwe. How are you, sir?
Very well. How are you? Please go ahead.
Good. Yeah, man. I'm just like, I just want to make some few comments regarding the meeting ANC had recently with their councillors. So I think like they were supposed to like invite all the ANC leadership, like the ministers and premiers, all of them, like they show poor leadership when it comes to leading this country. So I don't think only the councillors were supposed to be invited there.
Yeah, so for you, the focus should have been on all leaders in government that are deployed by the ANC, not all this focus on local councillors.
Yes, because like they are all showing poor leadership when it comes to governing this country.
Yeah, all right. Got your mic.
Yeah, and also again, I just want to like... there's a guy who critiqued the president.
Yes.
I think it was this week or last week.
Yeah,
I'm
on
not
Monday.
Quite sure.
Mike, if you don't mind, I don't know. You'll tell me if you mind, and I'll allow you to proceed. I think we've talked about that issue. I think I would not feel good that we're just harping on it, unless you really feel there's something else that you want to add. On my part, I'm happy. I think we've really explored it, and I think we risk castigating a person, more than should have happened, really. I think where he is, he gets the point that was being made. We get the point. We've had the conversation. I don't know, unless I don't want to restrict you. So go ahead if you feel you need to. But if you are aligned with what I'm saying, I'm happy for us to move on.
No, I'm 100% supportive of the guy. I also disregard this president. This current president, man, is bad for this country. Like, last time in Soweto, children were feed poisoned by the illegal immigrant who are doing business all over the country. Then the current president, instead of making decisive leadership, he only said they should just go and register businesses and continue manufacture those pet food, and you see. So
I get your point. All right, thank you for that, Mike. Did you see that you were able to make the point? Because you just made the point. Thank you for that. That's Mike out in the East Rand there, weighing in on the ANC as well as President Cyril Ramaphosa and his leadership.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Mike 1 is heavy today, straight through the middle of Joburg. A crash at Melrose up by Caller Drive. Northbound is heavy. Effectively, Boyson's through to sort of Smith Street is one queue. And then just after, as you get into Parktown, it's then all the way up through towards Caller Drive. And southbound, there's a really big queue coming from Woodmead down through Santon and in towards that crash at Melrose as well. Stationary truck been stuck at Modderfontein Road all morning. N3 North still queuing heavy from Cement Factory. Behind that, the N12, particularly the N12 and the R24. Those routes are heavy coming in from Ekurhuleni to get in through Galulis and into that N3 North. So from Ekurhuleni side, take alternative routes and avoid, where possible, the run on the highways into Galulis. It's really heavily backed up. Also, at the same time, a crash going south on the N3 at Galulis. So coming from Modderfontein or Linksfield Road, at least, it's pretty slow. Breakdown M1 south at Olifantsfontein. Wednesday morning traffic just starting to backlog heavily again through to Old Joburg Road. If you're coming out of Pretoria, there's a lot of traffic to get through today. Let's get an update from the Town Hill situation. Still very slow. Pietermaritzburg through to Hilton after a crash and a couple of breakdowns and some wet weather conditions this morning. So if you're inland from Pietermaritzburg, it is pretty heavily backed. A crash at Pavilion, or just after Pavilion Mall at Paradise Valley on your way out of Durban. So queuing pressure from that Spine Road Pavilion Mall exit. And Cape Town, pretty heavy as well in terms of volumes. The N1 inbound from Plattekloof Hill to City Centre. N2 backs from Malanga through towards Hospital Bend. And there is some traffic traffic just moving slowly going down Nelson Mandela Boulevard this morning into the city centre. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
September is Deaf Awareness Month, a time to celebrate the deaf community, promote inclusion, empowerment, and break communication barriers. Let's listen with our hearts and not our ears. Learn and embrace a South African Sign Language. Join us throughout September for commemoration events, activities that educate, connect, and inspire. Visit our website, foundationnima.org, for more information. This is an SABC-supported initiative.
Coming to life at the South African State Theatre, Music in the Air. From 12 to 28 September at the Arena Theatre, enjoy South Africa's greatest 80s and 90s hits with music from icons like Hugh Masekela and Miriam Makeba, written and directed by Joel Zuma. Tickets only 200 Rand at Web Tickets and Pick and Pay. Don't miss out.
Call Thulasizwe now, 086 000 2032.
I want to reflect one or two messages that have come through before I play the voice notes. One is from Murwa Tlabanang in the northwest in Lichtenberg, who says, here in Ditsobotla municipality, it's just a shame. You will not even know whether the municipality has people working in there or not. The small town of Lichtenberg does not have roads at all. All the robots are not working. It is time we do away with ANC because our kids will not have a country, says Murwa Tlabanang out in the northwest. And then someone else says, Cyril Ramaphosa can only blame councillors because if he was to blame anyone else in the ANC, it would come back to him. I also love how the media will blame anyone else in the country except for Ramaphosa. But we understand because some of these people were in the Tumamina group, says this person. All right, so those are some of the messages. Let me just go straight to the voice notes now. Let me try and go to the earlier ones. Someone wanted to comment on e-hailing. I'll play that and then I'll play one on the MK party.
Good morning, SAFM listeners. I fully support the amendment to the Land Transportation Act to include the requirements for e-hailing drivers to have permits as well as the panic button being installed in the cars that they are using. However, I thought that the panic button should be considered for all public transportation. The clock is ticking. They have about 180 days to comply to this new regulation.
Good morning, Julius. Julius, I'm very worried about MK. I really love the party.
All right, I think we had played that a bit earlier on. It triggered that conversation, the subsequent conversations that happened. Earlier on, we also spoke to the chairperson of SCOPA in Parliament, Songezo Zibi, about concerns about follow-through from disciplinary measures that are recommended by the SIU in the public service, and then that needing to be taken forward by various entities in government. Songezo was outlining what they heard when they received a report from the SIU and the presidency. Take a listen to what this person has to say about that.
Good morning, it's Ben from Durban. Is it possible to have a line item in government employee contracts that says if you steal or are directly or indirectly involved in fraud or theft of government money to the value of 10,000 Rand or more, you can be dismissed immediately?
Yeah. No, I don't even think there would be any difficulty with that, right? I mean, that's misconduct. And I think in terms of any contract, theft is really one of those items. I don't want to use the technical term, but basically it's a serious offense, right? In terms of the regulations in any workplace. It doesn't matter whether it's 2,000 Rand. Once you are in the realm of theft, it's the act itself more than it is the amount involved. So I think that's probably already in there. But I get what you're saying, that in the other methods of stealing, not in, you opened the till and took out 2,000 rand, but in the sense of engaging and involving yourself in schemes that end up taking from the public coffers and putting in your coffers. I get the point you are making.
Good morning.
Sorry. Don't know why I just did that. Let's play this one that has to do with the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. Of course, it gets underway today, and the first witness up on the stand will be none other than the KwaZulu-Natal Provincial Commissioner, Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi.
Morning, Thulas. Thulas, one thing I want to know. How can we set up a commission that they say is not binding? How are they not just going to spend money and waste money there? Because now if the committee is not binding, what's the point of calling people and get all the information? Then at the end of the day, you're going to sit, do nothing. It's kind of like just telling a story.
I hear the point you're making. Remember years ago, before this question of whether or not the public protectors' remedial actions are binding, before it was settled, you remember the expression, recommendations are recommendations. That's exactly the problem. That's exactly part of the problem and what people are focusing on, to say it's all well and good to air everything out in the public. Transparency, let's talk about it. Let it all be tested out in public. But then what? When the recommendations finally come. All right, I want to play this one about the mighty Amakhosi.
Good morning, Thulas. Thulas, yayazi la club kude isikhukhune. Ayitshaywa la club ayontsangwa. They were too excited. This too much football club called Kaizer Chiefs. Now they're quiet. Now they're hiding themselves. Tango Skukune, Tango!
Hey, guys, I'll do fans sitting on this one. I'm as neutral as Sweden. But the banter is always enjoyable. Always. And I did see one or two messages. Zaikan, someone else here was talking about you and saying that your energy levels are different when the Amakhosi were on the wrong end of the result. I can neither confirm nor deny what you are saying about my colleague Zaikan. That's how we come to the end of today's edition of the Morning Brief. Thank you for listening and thank you for your engagement. The Talking Point with Khethi Mohlahlana is up next here on SAFM after the news. I'm Thulasizwe Simelane and you've been briefed.
This is SAFM.
Just tell me about how this concert series fits in with what you are trying to do with these young people.
The reality is that private funders do not just thoughtlessly throw their resources around.
It is one thing to get a backtrack like that for a finance guy, hey?
Somebody just WhatsApped me to say that she has a daughter who has hearing loss.
Corruption in South Africa has reached disgraceful levels.
First things first, let's get to my daily that's my point feature. So, did you see Cristiano Ronaldo cry yesterday?
This is SAFM. This is SAFM.
Just tell me about how this concert series fits in with what you are trying to do with these young people.
The reality is that private funders do not just thoughtlessly throw their resources around.
It is one thing to get a backtrack like that for a finance guy, hey?
Somebody just WhatsApped me to say that she has a daughter who has hearing loss.
Corruption in South Africa has reached disgraceful levels.
First things first, let's get to my daily that's my point feature. So, did you see Cristiano Ronaldo cry yesterday?
This is SAFM. This is SAFM.
Just tell me about how this concert series fits in with what you are trying to do with these young people.
The reality is that private funders do not just thoughtlessly throw their resources around.
It is one thing to get a backtrack like that for a finance guy, hey?
Somebody just WhatsApped me to say that she has a daughter who has hearing loss.
Corruption in South Africa has reached disgraceful levels.
First things first, let's get to my daily that's my point feature. So, did you see Cristiano Ronaldo cry yesterday?
This is SAFM. This is SAFM.
Just tell me about how this concert series fits in with what you are trying to do with these young people.
The reality is that private funders do not just thoughtlessly throw their resources around.
It is one thing to get a backtrack like that for a finance guy, hey?
Somebody just WhatsApped me to say that she has a daughter who has hearing loss.
Corruption in South Africa has reached disgraceful levels.
First things first, let's get to my daily that's my point feature. So, did you see Cristiano Ronaldo cry yesterday?
This is SAFM. This is SAFM.
Just tell me about how this concert series fits in with what you are trying to do with these young people.
The reality is that private funders do not just thoughtlessly throw their resources around.